wish I could be part of that world. Oh, man, that was awful.
Look at this stuff. Isn't it neat?
All right. So
Wouldn't you think my collection's complete?
please end this. Please grenade this in the mouth. Okay, so this was my planned introduction. I was going to say something along the lines of, I'm officially an old man. How do I know? I was in Wawa. It's a convenience store in the Philadelphia area, if you don't know. And I assume a 17-year-old, her friend and her two friends were like in triangle formation, not clearly in line by the counter, but surely blocking the path to the door, just fucking standing there. I was like, all right, well, if you're going to be in the way, and you're not in line, I'll just go to the counter. And I get up there, and the old lady working behind the counter looks at me, and then turns to the girl, was like, all right, you're ready now, honey. It comes over, and this girl had bought one piece of gum, presumably to break her $100 bill.
What?
And the cashier was counting out $99.85 and change, and the whole exchange made me super furious.
What, just not?
Why are you blocking the whole path? If you're in line, why are you not close enough to the register, that I can tell? If you're the cashier, why don't you nicely tell me that somebody is actually being helped instead of gazing through me?
If you're a human, why are you breaking 100 at a convenience store by buying a single pack of gum?
Nobody likes when you do that.
No one on planet Earth.
No.
And they have no grounds to refuse you. But I don't think they were human. I think they were aliens.
Frank, thoughts?
Aliens.
I think if you just feigned not being able to hear, like she's like, hey, can I buy this candy? Here's a $100 bill. You just go, what? Here's my money. What? Until they either walk over. Yeah. She's like, well, I can't. What?
I asked.
What are you talking about?
Like if I know I'm getting most of this 100 back, if I have 100 for some reason, I'm asking. Like, even in places where it's more common, like a grocery store, I'm still asking. Like, you have enough in there to crack 100? Mm-hmm. They say no, I'm okay with it, and I'll whip out a card.
Yeah.
I had a guy at my old job, and on the weekends, every time he would come in, we opened at like 9, I think, and he would always come in within an hour of us opening. And he would come and pick up his medication. It was one thing. It was probably like $5. And every fucking time, this man brought in a crisp $100 bill. And I'm just like...
Was it Saturday morning?
Yeah, I think so.
He
but
probably went to cash his paycheck the
I
night
know he
before
did, but it was
and
irritating.
got all hundreds and needed change.
It was irritating. I always had to be like, okay, let me go get more change. We never have this much change in the morning. Like...
Let's go to a bank.
Go to a bank or just be like, hey, do you have the change for this? I know it's like...
Alternatively, blow me clown. All right, we're getting started today.
Too.
Welcome to another installment of Two Guns, No Ammunition. Beautiful Sunday. Let's
Not
see
really.
here. I'm Big Billy, and I just watched the Eagles fucking die on the field.
I'm Genevieve, and I am going to be best friends with Gritty.
I'm Lisa, and my phone screen is cracked still.
It's Liesler.
Sorry.
I'm Frank, and I lost part of my soul today when the Eagles gave up a 4th and 15.
I'm white trash, and I'm in trouble.
You're in trouble.
What a lethargic intro, guys. Way to kick it off.
Wow.
Way to kick it off.
Yeah.
I presume that means we have terrible content coming up.
Yeah, awful. Just bad.
That's a good assumption for any episode.
We are gonna veer a little bit. We're gonna talk about the Eagles because Frank and I both watched. Genevieve took a nap through the whole thing.
Not all of it, but most of it.
Well,
The second half.
Frank,
Mostly.
what the hell happened today?
The secondary is absolute garbage. Garbage.
That was awful.
Is that
man.
French for trash?
Yes.
See.
Yeah. I mean, you have 3 opportunities on 4th down to stop a team, one of which is 4th and 15, and you just let every single person that's looking for the ball get wide open. I mean, it's unreal. You just stand there at the 1st down line and just watch people like, hey, I'll bet that guy's going to catch a ball. Cool, he did.
Good for him.
Oh, wait, I should probably chase him.
Are there more penalties this year than there were last year? I feel like they're all game.
So I thought that today was actually not that bad with penalties.
Wasn't as bad as compared to last week.
Yeah. In general, I mean, so the Eagles, we probably think that because the Eagles right now through 4 games have the most penalty yards of any team in NFL history.
Oh, okay.
Within after 4 games.
Yeah.
So that's why we would probably think about that, because we watch. I don't really watch too many games other than the Eagles. I'll normally watch 20 to 30 minutes of the Thursday night game, because what the hell else am I going to do on a Thursday night? But even then, the full game could not hold my attention. So and I'll probably watch about the same, maybe a little more of Monday Night Football. But outside of that, I don't really watch too much else other than the Eagles. So from what I've seen, it's mostly been the Eagles playing like trash.
Yeah. Yeah, Super Bowl number 2, here we come.
Well, hey, you know what? It's early in the season. They got to clean it up, though. I mean, there's just no way that they could. Right now, the Rams are just unstoppable. If you've seen if anyone has watched the Rams play, their offense is unreal and cannot be stopped, apparently. Then again, everybody said the same thing about the Chiefs last year, because they started off the first 4 games, they scored like 40 points per game.
Whoa.
Including against the Patriots, where they absolutely demolished the Patriots like 40-7. And then, by the end of the season, typical Andy Reid team could not close the season out and was irrelevant in the playoffs.
All right, quick pivot to the thing everybody really wants to hear us talk about. The Flyers' new mascot, Gritty. Have you seen this fucking thing, Frank?
Yeah, what is the thing?
Do you know what? They made a beer in honor of Gritty.
No.
And you know what it's called?
What?
Gritty?
Nightmare Fuel.
Excellent. I love it.
Because that thing
It's a
is
trash
nightmare
fire.
fuel.
If you haven't seen Gritty, it is the orange, frizzy, long-haired cousin of Grimace, the purple McDonald's monster.
Plus googly eyes.
And it has googly eyes. It is, it's a mess.
A hot mess.
Yep.
Dumpster fire.
Jake just pulled it up. Jake,
Oh
is this the
gosh.
first time you've seen this fucking thing?
This guy is
It is.
amazing.
Wait, isn't that
And I,
There's a video of him talking too.
I
and it's
legitimately thought it was a fucking joke.
prime.
I thought
No.
the internet made this up.
I
no, that's one of the Sesame Street people, right?
No.
Yeah.
No.
No, it looks
No,
just
that's
yeah.
a mascot
I mean,
for
I mean, y'all
Philadelphia
are
Flyers.
y'all are hating on it, but like, I don't know,
Oh,
man.
I love it.
I don't know, man. It's
so
I love it
creepy.
because it's insane.
I feel a special kinship with this thing.
Well,
Well, I
it just
mean,
looks
the
I think it's-
resemblance is uncanny.
I think it fills in a lot of gaps in my genealogy. I don't,
so
understand.
creepy.
Wow.
You might want to, get on some Ancestry.com.
I think it fills in
or
a lot
whatever.
of gaps in the president's genealogy
urban
that no one
Sasquatch.
understands.
This fucking
I am
thing-
related to
much,
Mr. Trump.
yeah.
This fucking thing is wearing a goddamn hockey helmet. It is a monster. It like
Literally a monster
a monster
in the Sesame Street sense.
with googly eyes.
So,
So funny.
I've seen somebody photoshopped this thing into the background of like Getty stock images of people. So like there's one of a kid like swinging on a swing, and in the background it's just standing there. Look at all. It's like straight out of a horror movie. And
Look,
it's
someone
amazing.
has a
Excellent.
tattoo of it already. Go down one, Jake.
Oh, that's right.
Ah,
Chaos
oh,
reigns.
it's on their skin.
That's
forever.
amazing.
I mean, I guess it's a pretty good name, after the way Philadelphia views itself. I mean, gritty,
Yeah.
or gritty, especially after
Nightmare
the Super Bowl
fuel.
win last year.
Google
God.
Google Gritty stock images.
But this thing,
And
like,
we'll see what
who
you'll
the
see
fuck?
what I mean.
Who thought of that? I mean, honestly, it's turning out to
raise and a
yeah, it's
promotion.
turning out to be a genius move because at first it was insane and I hated it, but the
I
longer it's
still hate
around,
it.
I'm like, this sort of fits Philadelphia. This
kinda works
crazy
see that
for
one
us.
with the
monster.
kid there in the
Philly
front?
has weird mascots for their teams.
Yeah, I mean, there's a.
Yo, I need some
there's-
water
there's-
after I eat my cheesesteak.
There's a video out there now. Apparently, he showed up to one of the Phillies games and hung out with the Fanatic. And
Yeah.
like, they're just dorking around.
He looks like
and
the
when you
Fanatic.
see them together or next to each other, you're like, oh,
They're related.
it makes sense that we have a stupid mascot for Flyers since we already have a nonsense one for the Phillies. Because what
Yeah,
the fuck is the Fanatic?
But the Fanatic is most commonly is like every year rated the best mascot in sports.
Yeah.
But
I
not-
think we've got a
not great.
The
contender.
mascot,
A
the
partner for
fanatic
him.
is a fantastical being that, like, it's clearly a made up monster alien thing.
That has eyes that make
Gritty
sense.
is somebody with a problem, right?
At least one.
Is 7.5 foot tall, 600 pound.
He's trying his best.
Like beard, red-haired, orange-haired beard fiend whose eyeballs
And no nose.
just kind of roll around in their head, and his nose has been surgically removed.
It's kind of like the fanatic and cousin It from the Addams Family had a weird deranged.
That
It
was
looks
dipped in
baby.
Cheeto.
it looks like the Grouch's evil twin.
Oscar the
That's
Grouch.
why I said it's from Sesame Street.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is.
But
Definitely
he's
is.
hyping from Philly.
Like the Grouch chills in trash cans, right? He's grumpy.
Oscar the Grouch.
Oscar the Grouch. He
Oscar
chills. He hangs out with rotting food and like used needles and shit all day, but he never tries to hurt any kids.
This
I don't
guy.
trust this thing,
It's creepy.
and yet I feel a bond.
Like I tell
Yeah.
you, I do feel like if I was like in the city out at the bar, like I could run into this fucking guy. I'd be like, oh yeah.
I'd be
guess-
really scared if I
I
ran
guess he
into
lives
him.
here.
I'm an
Yeah.
acquaintance, went to rehab. You're like, oh, good, he's trying real hard, but I don't really want to be
Just got a
around
job,
him too
Ma.
much. Yeah, like
I just got a job, Ma.
speaking of, I love that we looked up Getty Images Gritty, and then there's Dear Mom, I Love You.
Yeah, that's
As a
irrelevant.
picture?
What's that?
Yeah,
Thanks,
gonna
sometimes
Google.
Google's crazy. But I guess they're achieving their goal here because Genevieve was like, I'm not really a Flyers fan, but I think I'll have to be now for Gritty.
Also, that's
Anything
how I
for
actually
Gritty.
talk. This is
I
Yeah, we
can't-
put a
Yeah.
lot of effects on your voice on the podcast
Yeah.
to make it more tolerable.
True.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I
Well,
mean,
we got like 5 minutes of content out of that.
as long as they put Gritty
I needed to
in,
talk about it, so it's fine.
as long as they put Gritty into the new Smash, I think he'll really. Do
Yo,
Does he just like throw
a
Philly
sports team
cheesesteaks?
mascot Smash Brothers expansion?
That would be.
Wow,
Wait,
that
How
would
tight
be
would
I
that
feel
be?
like that should be a game already. Like,
I mean, they have it in
The
real
problem
life,
is it would
so-
be like funded by a bunch of evil, corrupt sports organizations that would just make it as cheaply as possible and sell it for as much as possible.
I still think to get around
I don't.
copyright and trademark and shit, they should have made like a Smash Bros, but call it like Splash Bros and just,
Smush
Slash.
sisses.
That's legally distinct.
and just put an L in everyone's name, like Slamus, Alaran, Clapton, Falcon,
Clapton.
Phlox.
Clapton.
See,
Falcon.
then you get sued by Eric. Sir.
I don't know who Eric is. Eric, Larrick.
Eric Clapton.
Elric.
Lyric.
Eric Clapton.
Elric.
You've heard of Eric Clapton.
I know who Eric Clapton is.
But is he
If you
Clapton
just insert
Falcon?
an L in Captain, it just becomes Clapton, and then it's spelled differently, but
Clapton, Falcon.
Clapton Falcon.
Pilkachu.
Yeah.
Flow.
Flail.
Pikachu?
Pilkachu.
Jesus Christ, you're really missing the theme here.
Pilkachu, okay. Or Plikachu.
Pikachu. That's true.
Yeah. All right, quick. Who's the best name to have in there?
Clerby.
Clerby.
Yeah, it's pretty
I
good.
deferred.
That
to
sounds
Leisler.
dirty.
Just 'cause you made
we'll
it
leave.
We're
for-
talking about a mascot named Gritty here.
Clerby.
No,
Glitty.
we're pivoting hard to the newest,
Glittery.
the newest video game internet rage.
Oh my god.
Sensation.
Bowsette. Have you all motherfucking seen Bowsette?
Is it a female Bowser?
It's more than that.
Oh my god.
So I think apparently the new. Would you mind googling
Did she kidnap
Please.
We can
Luigi?
see.
Bowsette?
You mean Green Mario?
So apparently,
Wow.
if you take off TTE,
That's Bowser.
That's
if you take off
Bowsette.
Princess Peach's,
Another E. at the
Another
end.
E.
Another E.
It's like it's.
Wait, is it
it's
Princess
French.
Peach and
I'm
Bowser's
trying to explain it.
child?
Hey guys, let's keep talking over Bill.
yeah. If you take off Princess Peach's
Oh boy.
crown, she turns into like a toad or something, and the crown turns her into Peach. So what they did is this crown is now magical, and they've put it on Bowser, and becomes a super duper sexy
Oh,
female
my
version of
goodness.
Bowser. And now they're doing this to all Nintendo characters, but Bowsette
so
is
many
an
questions.
absolute fox.
One.
Wow.
Does it still stomp around like Bowser full weight as
I hope so.
Bowsette?
I don't know.
2, does it talk like Bowser or like Peach? Like, what is it? Cute and soft,
Both.
or is it? Roar?
Okay, are you looking at the same pictures I'm looking at?
Depends on what time of the month it is.
Yeah.
Good point. Good
Oh,
point.
wow.
ugh. God damn it, Frank.
Oh my gosh.
There's a whole
Bowsette
subreddit.
is-
It's got tons of new content every day.
I'm sure.
There's a Bouette. I think Bouette and Bowsette are the two most popular versions of this thing. But
Bouette.
yeah, but
Oh,
they're,
my
they're putting them on all the Nintendo characters. I even saw one they did like the warp pipe.
Seriously.
Warpette.
What?
Pipette.
Yeah, yeah. And it's a very
An actual object.
And then there was one where they're like, this power's too great. And they throw the crown on the ground, and it turns the earth into a really sexy earthette.
Earthette.
Yeah, I dig it.
God.
What is this? A
Wait,
children's
so-
game?
Is this in any actual game, or is it just lore that people have come up with?
It's, I mean,
Okay.
it's softcore
People
porn right now.
have been changing the sexes of cartoon and video game characters since time immemorial.
Right. I'm just the whole magic of the.
But
crown
now
part.
they've instituted like canon
Mhm.
for it, and that just opened the floodgates from the looks of it.
Exactly.
So far,
Exactly that.
no Rule 34. Thank you.
I haven't searched Rule 34 yet.
Where's
I don't
Mario
plan
at?
to.
And Luigi at?
No, but there's a Bowsette subreddit, so if you're really curious, you guys can check in your free
I'm insulted you brought this up.
time. But yeah, I really love the internet. So this sort of leads me to my conclusion about Gritty. Pretty much.
We need to put a
Grit
crown on
it.
it.
What?
We need to put Peach's crown on it.
Be Groudette.
That's actually a really good.
Bill, if
idea.
you're not
Grit-
careful,
grit it?
you're gonna pivot so hard you're gonna tear your ACL.
I know. If you give the internet enough time and like the thing doesn't really matter, they're gonna find a way to love it, right? You make enough memes about Gritty, people will be like, all right, this fucking dork's okay. You know what I mean? Bowsette, they're like, it could have been a dumb idea. The internet took it. Now everyone's like, we love this. We love this idea. We love this stupid crown lore. We're in the age of accepting things because the internet makes it better. I'm calling it, dude. I'm calling it.
Bill's call of the week.
If it's on the internet, we're gonna like it.
And I'll say it right now. Apparently, it's supposed to be Peachowser.
Oh.
Do they do the fusion dance?
I don't know. That would be hype.
Do they go Super Saiyan? Episode 60 of Dragon
I mean,
Ball
she's
Z
already
Abridged
kinda
is
got
out
the
in
hair.
3 parts right now. You should all watch all of it.
We're
Shout
catching up.
All right. So there's that.
Another 5 minutes down.
Talking about Bowsette.
Yes, we were.
Wait, what?
What were we
What?
talking about?
EA. This happened a couple of weeks ago, but
Yeah.
oh my god. It's done. We're done. Cancel the podcast.
We've tried many times.
5
You
minutes.
guys just keep showing up. Me and Jake are like, fine, we'll let them in.
We didn't talk about this a couple weeks ago because we had a really good conversation about the subscription model. But I believe Belgium, well, it's either the EU or Belgium specifically, has deemed the loot boxes in a number of video games to be a form of gambling and therefore illegal.
Oh.
And they said, knock it the F off. And Valve said, okay.
Is that for gambling or for illegal? What are you singing
And
about?
Overwatch said,
Background music.
okay. And EA said, we disagree. So Belgium said, all right, we're going to open a criminal investigation into you.
Oh shit.
Boom. Belgium's, they're not fucking around right now. But
So
I think the explanation I read
Belgium's
on
pretty cool.
EA was that, what was it? It was like, oh, there's no way to redeem any of this stuff for real world money that we sanction, so it's not gambling. We don't believe it's gambling. I'm pretty interested to see.
But there is a way to spend real money on it.
Right. So it has a monetary value. It's just like in EVE Online. If you're not familiar with EVE Online, it's basically like the biggest space economy sim out there. It's a really good little microcosm of an anarchical economy, I think, that you could... All the order is self-imposed by the players in the game. Anyway, if you want to... You can buy it costs a monthly subscription to play, and you can buy it via in-game currency. So the way that they convert that is that you can... The amount of money that it takes to buy a monthly subscription and then the actual cost of the subscription, they use that as a conversion factor. So sometimes there'll be these huge battles and these ships worth like 8 billion ISK, which is the currency. They'll be like, this was like actually an $8,000 ship IRL, right? So you can, it does have an assigned value in money, but I guess you could argue it doesn't have direct You can't redeem it directly through EA or whatever. But I'll be interested to see this
Not
mega.
EA. You could secondary market it to someone who wanted to pay that kind of money for it.
Right.
They've been doing that on games like that forever.
Yeah, that's why I think the language in EA's defense that it was like not sanctioned is really pivotal, right? Because they're like, well, it might happen, but we're not part of that. So I'm interested to see how this corporation takes on this country. Although corporations have bullied countries before.
Belgium is not large.
It is not,
Belgium's
and
not large,
it's relatively new.
But it's not a very small country in South America, and they're not a tobacco company.
But they have many
Boy.
waffles,
And French fries.
powerful waffles.
So anyway, I was curious what you guys thought about this whole topic, the loot boxes being considered gambling, and the implications of having gambling in video games that are accessible to adults and youth.
What, and them being regulated specifically? Because
I'm asking a general question. So
Yeah.
I can see both sides of the coin. I mean, figure, I play these goofy cell phone games. I was checking out on Fallout Shelter as you were speaking just now, and they have a loot box, right? You can acquire through the game naturally at a reasonable pace without having to spend money. These loot boxes and other things you could pay real money for. It doles them out in such a way that the game is reasonably balanced without having to pay money, but you can pay the money, and I kind of like how if they're going to include it the way they've included it. But nevertheless, you buy one of these, it's a Fallout little lunchbox, and you open it up and you get I think it's 7 cards. Well, the cards don't mean squat, it's just stuff. Here's 50 units of power, here's 500 caps, here's a super rare weapon or outfit or person, or here's a pet, here's, random crafting stuff, whatever, right? And it's random every time. There's no way to redeem that stuff for real value. In the case of a game like Fallout Shelter, you can't even transfer the save to somebody. You can't even transfer the save to yourself. I have not figured out how to move it between devices, even logged into the same Google account. Different discussion.
that's weird.
But
I
I
thought-
probably just am not doing something right, but don't worry about it. If someone were to really get hooked on a game like this, or Pokemon Go even, or anything that has these microtransactions, it's almost arguably a bit worse than gambling, in that the distance it's removed from trading in real cash and gambling real cash is deceptive, in that there is no promise of return other than you possibly enjoying your time. Which is fine if that's kind of the deal from the get-go. You go to a concert, you go to a bar, right? You're not expecting reimbursement unless, weird circumstances aside. So there is that level of, wishy-washiness there that makes up for the lack of trading in real money. I think real gambling, if anything, for one thing, it's all potentially addictive, and real gambling is a faster way to do dumb shit like lose your retirement or your house or something stupid like that. Because, people have a problem, and that's its own discussion. Yeah. But if we're going to talk about, companies going out of their way to, it's a business model, right? They're trying to turn a profit. It's all, and now we're talking about policing the ethics of how that profit is made. I'm not opposed to the idea as long as the game is not pivotal upon it. And as long, I don't know what kind of metrics you could set to hedge against behaving in poor faith beyond the normal requirements of capitalism to operate. You know what I mean? What constitutes abuse in this sphere? I don't know.
Sorry, go ahead.
I want to interject just because I don't know if we've defined what a loot box is. In my understanding, it's kind of like a care package, but randomly generated objects that may or may not help you with different levels of.
It's a pile of in-game stuff.
Yeah.
It could be anything.
But it's random. It's
and you
not
can pay money to get them.
Okay.
And there's no control over. I think we talked about on previous times that this topic has come up. I think you mentioned a game where there are certain rare items that you can only obtain in this way. Mm-hmm. They're just not in the game otherwise. That's a little dumb. Is it illegal?
No.
Is it shitty game design? Do they deserve your money as a gamer if they're going to pull shit like that? I don't think so. Should they go to jail? Should they get fined by the government? Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, here's sort of where I've come to it, and I think that making money that some of these industries do by exploiting people with legitimate problems, like gambling addiction or selling to people who have drinking problems and stuff like that. Like, I think it's a little bit I don't know, iffy in the morality department. But in the end, these people are adults, right? And like, it gets weird to this idea when you end up having the conversation about whether or not you should allow companies to take advantage of these kinds of people. What you're really asking is whether or not these adults have the ability to consent to certain types of interactions. And it's sort of hard for me to get to the whole point where you'd be like, no, this adult cannot consent to this. But when you get these games where you have an avenue to spend money, and a carrot to dangle in front of somebody, and children have access to this stuff, we already know that children can't consent to a lot of stuff.
They're not legally people.
Right? Like, they can't.
You're not people yet.
They can't vote. They can't buy cigarettes.
Nice
they can't
try,
buy beer.
kid.
There's literally an age of consent in different countries and different states and all that. But you give them the means to burn up a ton of their assets in
or their parents.
Or their parents' assets, and you could say, well, it's the parents'
Burn
job
up
to monitor their money. Ooh. But like, we agree that kids can't make smart decisions already in so many ways, and now we're going to open up this avenue for them to like.
There are ways to hedge against that, though.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And like, if you were to say, okay, you got to be over 18 to use these loot boxes because they're clear
to have and use a credit card, you have to be 18. Do you not?
No, you don't. I don't think
You have to.
Will you get approved for a card of your own?
you can be an authorized user.
Yeah, you can.
Authorized user is
yeah.
different, but
Mm-hmm. But I mean, it's still like you can have your parents' credit card with your name on it at that point,
Gotcha.
and then you can run up.
I wasn't even in
And
that
you're still- I'm
situation
guessing
when I
you're
was younger,
still-
so I don't know.
accountable for the credit.
Well,
I would imagine, I mean-
Yeah,
well, the person who actually owns the card, who's
Yeah.
of whom you are an authorized user,
My point is, you got to be 18 to gamble in the U.S.
Right.
21.
Now, really? Or is that? No, I think it's 18 to gamble because you can buy lotto tickets and stuff.
That's different. The state lottery is a government thing, so they're gonna do what they want.
I thought 21 was just because all these places tend to serve liquor.
Casinos.
Yeah,
21.
if you want to gamble at a non-state sponsored like thing, right? Because the lottery, the PA State Lottery, is a government organization.
Right.
It's run by the state. So yeah, they could basically do what they want. They have sovereign immunity to say we're gonna let people at the age of 18 play this game. But to actually go to any casino and play any sort of game, whether it's a table game or slots or anything, or bet on sports or horses, you have to be 21.
What is sovereign immunity?
It's the idea that the state can make themselves immune from any suit that they choose.
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. So 21, and you have a game of chance where you can spend, where real money can feed into the resources to play these game of chance. I don't see the argument for saying that is somehow different than actual gambling when it comes to access to kids. You know what I mean? We all agree kids can't fucking figure shit out.
Is the case in Belgium specifically for underage players, or is it
No,
in
it's
general?
gambling.
Right? Okay.
well, just like, yeah,
They're saying it's gambling, and EA saying it's not.
Yeah, and anywhere, even where gambling is legal, right? And I'm not sure if gambling at all is legal. There might not be any casinos or any form of gambling in Belgium at all. I'm not sure. But regardless, in any place where the gambling is legal, there are very strict regulations around it.
Right.
So it's 100%.
trying to rope EA under that banner.
Yeah, it's either you are a licensed, like we give you a license to be a place where you can gamble, or you stop allowing people to gamble, do
Right.
what we deem as gambling. And I don't think that and that's one thing why I think that, and look, a company can go through whatever loopholes that they want, right? But at the end of the day, I don't think that they should have loot boxes in any games, because at that point, I agree that it's gambling, right? But at the end of the day, I don't think that they should have loot boxes in any games, because at that point, I agree that it's gambling, right? And at that point, you're basically saying that this game can only be played, at least in the United States, by people over the age of 21, and there's no real way to police that.
Would we be okay with loot boxes if you can't pay for them? Like they're just part of the game?
In-game currency.
But if you can buy the in-game currency, that's just like indirect.
the same thing.
Yeah, it's the same thing. I'm saying I don't like the idea of loot boxes
Same
in general.
thing with extra steps.
Yeah.
Isn't there some sort... What am I, Charlie Puth? Jesus Christ.
Okay.
Run, dirt on my name. I said that thing 3 times. Whatever.
man.
Go fuck yourself. Isn't there a legal term for that? Like action by proxy or something? Like you're doing something that's not directly the illegal act, but everybody knows you're just covering it up. I can't remember it.
There's like
Just because you're buying in-game currency first and then spending that.
the whole idea of like laundering money is the same idea, except with describing the source of funds.
Yeah.
Or disguising rather.
So it's like, it's not. We're not gambling real money. We're buying this fake money, and then we're gambling with that for in-game stuff. And it's like everybody fucking knows you're gambling with real money. Your prizes just aren't money back. And like, I don't know if you can ever gamble with anything that's not real money, then this is gambling in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
And you fucking kids can't,
Well,
kids
I mean,
can't gamble.
It seems like every other day, somewhere, some kid fucking around on his phone or tablet somehow, or rather, that kid's parent gets the monthly
The monthly
credit card bill and sees $3,000 in Poke coins that he didn't say was cool. And the kid, meanwhile, has just been poking away. Oh, I'm out of coins. I'll just go through the thing and hit the give me more coins button. And then, what are these authorizations and weird numbers? Whatever. Okay, accept. Charge. Because for some reason, these kids are playing on their parents' fucking Apple and Google accounts with live credit cards tied to them.
Yeah, so that's a problem in and of itself.
Yeah.
Which just speaks to the fact that there's so many variables with this bullshit. I mean, just you guys already mentioned it, like policing the age at which someone is using an app from an electronic device thousands of miles away from where the app was developed.
Yeah.
And here's what it boils down to is nobody wants to take responsibility for preventing anything from happening, right? The video game company says, well, it's on Apple or Google or whoever manages the payment thing that like if you have the game on Google Play, it's up to Google to police who's using the people's credit cards. And then Google says, well, hey, look, we set up all these tools to make sure that only the person who, it's your account, you have to make sure it's secure. It's like nobody wants to take responsibility for this. And if there's no way to there is responsibility somewhere, right? So you either have to say, is it acceptable for the people individually to continue to have that responsibility on themselves with no one else being responsible for those actions? In other words, you as a consumer, right, are potentially liable for basically anything that happens, even if it doesn't seem fair to you, right? Which is, a lot of people feel that way. It's like, dude, you gotta lock down your shit, That's a pretty valid way to think about it. But because there's everybody cannot agree to who has the responsibility to make sure that, in this case, kids cannot buy excessively, then you can't have it. It can't happen.
Right.
That's what it boils down to, in my opinion. And right now, nobody wants to step up and take responsibility for making sure that it can not be abused, right? And once again, I hate saying like, for the kids or by the kids, because of the kids, think of the children, anything like
Fuck
that.
these kids.
But at the end of the day, that's exactly what it boils down
Dicey
to.
soundbite.
You have a population that is legally deemed to not be able to make their own decisions, that have that agency to make those decisions, and then have extreme consequences for other people. And if we can't find a way to avoid that from happening, then you can't allow that mechanism to continue.
Right. Yeah, that's exactly my thought. I'm not casting any I'm not making any judgment calls on like any other part of the laws and who should be responsible or anything like that, but we have laws that exist. about how gambling is handled, and this idea that loot boxes are not gambling because it's virtual money is just absolute horse duke.
Yeah. I mean,
Or would you say the same thing about Bitcoin, right? You can gamble Bitcoin. You can gamble with Bitcoin.
I mean, it's a type of currency, so.
No, you can transfer Bitcoin to online casinos and then gamble with it.
but at that point, that's just a matter.
That
of
is
the
actual
currency.
gambling. Yeah.
Well, it's the currency you're using. You're
Some people would say it's
just instead of
virtual.
dollars.
It's
you
not
know?
extra gambling if
Yeah.
you could already gamble online
Extra
with U.S.
gambling.
money.
Yes, but my point is
It's
that
not 2 layers of gambling.
my point is that just because you put it online and it's virtual doesn't make it not real.
What
Sure.
if you used American dollar dues and bought Bitcoin and then used the Bitcoin on the stock market? Is that double?
No.
No.
Oh.
What if I went to Morocco and exchanged all my U.S. dollars for I forget what currency they use
Chickpeas.
and chickpeas and gambled all my chickpeas away and lost my house?
Yeah.
Did I lose my house because I was double gambling or because I was gambling excessively?
It was the chickpeas.
Did the currency have anything to do with it? No.
Yeah. Yeah.
No.
All right,
Then-
we've lost
and hey,
all our Moroccan
yeah,
listeners.
Just because like we people agree in general, right? Society agrees that there are things that have value to some people that do not have value to other people. Just because you say, well, there's no quote unquote real world value to the items you get in a loot box system doesn't mean that they don't have value to somebody.
They are valuable in as much as however many number of people get time that they feel is well spent out of it.
Yeah.
It's subjective.
The one thing that just that ends up really pissing me off, or really I shouldn't say pissing me off, just irritating me in general of a lot of the game companies is that for the end, I think the end argument is when you say these things don't have value, so it can't be gambling. Generally, in most cases, accounts do have value. You can sell your account to other people, and a game company will say, yeah, but that's against our terms of service. So it all comes back to that idea of we make up our own rules.
Right.
You're not allowed to make up. We have a set of laws that in each country has developed their own sets of laws, and you have to play by those rules. In general, the tech industry is the worst at this. That have they just take this idea of, I mean, it's in Uber. If you look at Uber's corporate values, it's like basically we do what we want. Google as well too. It's like we make our own rules. Their idea is we're just going to do what we want, and we're going to wait for a regulator to catch up to us and then tell us we can't do it. And because they've generally been popular, like publicly popular, or most up until recently, tech companies have been publicly popular. The regulators have been hesitant to actually do what they would do to, like if there were companies in the industrial or financial space doing what a lot of the tech companies do in terms of pushing regulations, I mean, they would be fined into oblivion and probably shut down.
Right.
People like to push over that, but I mean, that's what irritates me is like, they're acting with impunity in kind of a nana boo boo. I'm just going to do what I want.
Right. I mean, it's hard to be a consumer and look at like what's going on, especially with data breaches and the amount of things, like the amount of information that corporations can pull from you and the amount of information flow that they can control. It's like they become this like weird pseudo government. You know what I mean? And I think maybe we talked last time, or I had this conversation in real life, that there's a court case going on that basically it's about to happen. That, Jesus, this is a bunch of speculation on my part. I might as well just say fucking nothing because maybe this, maybe that, whatever.
Maybe there's things happening.
The discussion
somewhere.
exists about whether or not these sites like YouTube exist in the role of a public space. So, you have the conversation. YouTube can do whatever they want. They're a private corporation. But there's this established understanding that if you function in a way that's really more of a public space, you are then beholden to the same laws, like the First Amendment kind of thing. So I think the idea is if you're more like a public square than a private space, then you are beholden to First Amendment protection. And it's going to be interesting to see going forward, because basically I think the position that the companies are in right now, either they're a public space and they can't regulate the way that they do by their own internal rules, but at the same time they're able to shirk responsibility for content, right? If you're like, whoa, we're hands off, people put up whatever they want, we don't have to worry about it, then they can't be held accountable for what's posted there. But if they do regulate and they're not a public space, then they are responsible for things that are posted on the site, specifically things like copyright infringement. So they can be held accountable for all that copyright transgression. So the companies, these big companies right now have been having their cake and eating it too. They can regulate things and they can change the dialogue as they like because they're a private entity. But when users put shit up and it's not detected and immediately taken down, and the companies don't put in the insane resources that would be necessary to regulate it, they go, well, we're not responsible for that. You know, I'm hoping that this gets resolved in one way or the other. So,
well, that trespasses on the whole YouTube boondoggle that is its ad revenue thing, which, by the way, we will probably never see a dime out of that whole thing because of how fucked it is. And that's okay. I'm fine with that. Out of like ad revenue.
Why wouldn't we ever see it?
If we did, it would be pennies. Or just because of, we're a young channel. We have no views, right? Like in the grand scheme of things. Every view you guys give us is awesome. Thank you. But you know, it is what it is.
We do it for the lulz, not the money.
Right.
We're here for fun, and we hope you're having fun too. And that's what it's all about, and that's why it doesn't matter to us as much. But people who have been career YouTubers for literally over a decade and have had a perfectly amiable relationship with the AdSense platform and other things I don't fully understand as a new YouTuber. A YouTuber. You know, I watch a lot of YouTube and I listen to a lot of podcasts, and I hear these guys talk about it. And the reason why the shift has been over to Patreon is because it's direct, right? Yeah, Patreon takes operating costs, but there's that level of removal from the content itself. Yeah, some videos are posted on Patreon for patrons, like a welcome video or like as part of the perks if you give creators enough money. But Patreon ultimately, like from the get-go, as I understand it, did exactly what you described, Bill. And that is, we're just a way for fans to fund the creators of the content they enjoy. We take a little scratch off the top for our operations. That's it. We're not a hosting site. Though we do, you can post your YouTube link here, and that's how the videos get posted. Like, that's what it is. And you know, that's why every professional YouTuber is moving to that model, because it's how they pay their bills and it's how they live. And Google, owners of YouTube, have been taking this shadowy, not quite either side of the fence approach that changes without warning as to what's acceptable, what's not, who gets blocked, who doesn't. And the conspiracy, as it stands now, is that if you are a member of like legacy big media and you're putting up shit that would normally get taken down for its content or tags, like covering wars, you know, past and present, for example, you leave one tag in your video as an independent YouTuber, even if you have 250,000, 500,000, 7 figures of followers and as many views a month, you'll get that video demonetized off of AdSense, possibly taken down, possibly get a strike against your channel when you source newsreel, right? Because of the copyright shit, which you also mentioned. The reason why there are no, apart from my laziness, the reason why there is no sound effects, no extra pictures, no extra music other than the music I make myself on this show right now is because we are immune to all of that. Doesn't mean we still won't get flagged for content, but we'll never get a copyright. And if we do, we'll fight it. Or I'll fight it. But
we could still lose.
That'll be.
We could. That's the thing. We could still lose because they're operating with impunity.
Yeah.
And the Drunken Peasants right now have been streaming on a sub channel because they got their streaming taken away because a private show that had been privated for a year and a half got a random content ID match for like 50 seconds of a Seventh Heaven episode they were fucking on. No one could watch the video anymore. And because not only did the video, they didn't get a strike, they didn't get any of the normal things you hear about if you watch YouTube a lot and you listen to creators talk about it. YouTube just shut off their streaming for 90 days-ish. Shut it off.
What?
They just shut it off. They make all their money from streaming. They just shut it off. No derogatory remarks on their account whatsoever. They just did it with nothing but like nebulous, like we don't know exactly when you'll get it back type stuff as feedback.
What they'll do is they'll like roll out new AI or whatever, like automatic copyright detection, and then it shits on a ton of accounts, and they go, "Oh, sorry, we're trying new stuff," and then they'll deal with some of the problems, and then. But not all of them, right?
Basically, what the conspiracy states is that Google is catering to legacy media's money. And if you are the Jimmy Kimmel Show or whatever, and you're talking about the most recent conflict in the Middle East, you will be fine. For one thing, you're probably not. You're getting all that ad revenue, right? Doesn't matter what kind of heinous shit you say. For the most part, Coca-Cola is still going to give you an ad on your video on YouTube.
Yeah.
If you're Joe Blow, I've been a YouTuber for my job for, however long, and you want to cover it because you're trying to form your own brand as an independent media source and news source, as many are, and some of them are quite good. Congratulations, you're fucked.
What do you mean? Why do you keep mentioning like a modern conflict? What's
just as an example? Just pick something that would be controversial.
Okay. So there could
stem
be
cell research, abortion. My saying these words could get caught up in the algorithm and get this video when it goes up on YouTube demonetized.
No way.
Oh yeah.
So we just fucked ourselves.
We've been fucked from the beginning.
Well, okay, yeah.
Which is why I don't
Fair
care.
Right.
But because we never relied on that revenue. But it is we are in the midst of exactly what Frank described. Right. We're not players in it, but we are among those who are on this platform. I mean, every episode's on SoundCloud. We put most of the recent ones on YouTube also, with limited, really no video to speak of. Just to try to broaden the audience a little bit in our fledgling years here.
Right.
But so we're fortunate in that regard, but we also missed the boat from when it was like decent and when we could have that kind of revenue.
Well, that's why a lot of internet content, and when I say a lot, it's obviously not like 90%, but a surprising number are moving to Pornhub to host their stuff because there's less regulation, right? And there's other video hosting sites out there like Vimeo, which I think is really, really good if you want like HD video. It's always been kind of slow for me. But I don't know how many alternatives there are to YouTube.
There are others. There's two that utilize the term tube in the name. I forget what they're called now. I've literally never even visited them. But what's that?
RedTube.
There's that one, but that is another porn site. We're talking about non-pornographic.
What is it? I thought I knew all the porn sites. What's it called?
RedTube.
I have never heard of this one.
Really?
Yeah, you have.
No.
It's part of like the
You know what
same-
Frank's doing tonight.
Yeah.
I think most of the porn companies just got bought up into one company.
I agree. I'm pretty sure most of them are owned by Pornhub.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think they call it the Pornhub network.
Yes.
Anyway.
Well, and here's another thing. That animal that was being brutally murdered outside.
By the really squeaky car.
Yeah, let's acknowledge it after I deliberately removed the noise from...
Well, if it got caught up, I thought it'd be funny.
Well...
I'm hilarious.
Oh my gosh.
What?
You're dead.
Yeah.
I'm
Hilarious.
eventually-
Mute
you're
his
dead to me.
mic for the rest of the show.
But don't not like continue to talk to me and don't tell me
Yeah.
that my mic is
So,
muted. So
we'll let you go on for like 5-10 minutes.
Pregnant,
and,
like pauses or like
Yeah.
echoey, like...
Yeah.
I'm Bill over here.
yeah, on our mics.
Noise
So
isn't picking up what I'm saying.
Hey, Klaus, get in here.
what?
Klaus?
No, okay, so
Oh, Klaus.
Reddit did a similar thing recently. It did something very interesting recently. If you're not familiar with Reddit, It can be aptly described as a content aggregator.
Everyone knows what Reddit is.
If
Well-
you're not familiar with Reddit, go to Reddit and figure out what the fuck it is.
And then
Takes
come
30
back
seconds.
and tell us.
Yeah.
It's a content aggregator with user submitted content that is upvoted or downvoted, and based on that and a weighting system over time, things show up to the front page. Tons of smaller communities. Well, Reddit does have a habit of banning communities that that they don't like, right?
That was it.
No, Bowset's on there, and it's very active right now.
For now.
But like, there are, quote unquote hate subreddits that have existed, and Reddit will go in waves and ban them. But they've recently done this thing that was pretty interesting. They quarantine subreddits. So they make it so that you cannot stumble upon these sites anymore. They won't show up. Just like if you have like a general feed, you have to specifically go there. And I was reading a discussion about the one there. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, just like you have to type that in your bar, or can you search it on Reddit and still
They
find
do
it?
not show up in search
Okay.
in searches. They do not generate any ad revenue.
It's just like us.
So it's like one example of a subreddit that I'm aware of is Watch People Die. It's morbid, sure, but it's video content that people are consuming, and it's typically like industrial accidents, police shootouts, like
Traffic footage.
Yeah, so you're like, you hear about like, do you remember when those special forces guys were operating in Niger and or Niger or whatever it is, and they were killed in a gunfight? They were ambushed by like 70. Yeah, this was a few months back, and everybody's like, "What the fuck are we doing in that country? Like, why are special forces there?" Anyway, these 4 guys were ambushed. They were killed by, I don't know, like 70 combatants in an ambush. The French flew in with their airplanes an hour later, saved the rest of the people, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, it was rumored that there was existent a video, and all the news that I read didn't have the video of the engagement. I went to this subreddit, and it was there.
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty intense. It offers an interesting perspective on what these people are actually engaging in. And that is one thing I will say that I have found that subreddit to be useful for, because, I've met a number of people who have gone overseas and been in conflict zones, have engaged in gunfights. I know a number of them, but I'm not going to ask them what on earth is that like.
Hey, were you wearing a GoPro?
Yeah, so we had one guy who
He's on Facebook Live.
I've only met one person who ever volunteered information about that kind of thing, and he's like, "I've killed 6 people," and they're like, "What?" Like, that kind of came out of nowhere. But like, aside from those interesting sort of remarks, I have no way to get a perspective on a more direct perspective on these sort of situations than to simply read the numbers about them or read people's opinions. And when I would watch these videos, I'm like, oh, this is what these are like. This is terrible. I don't want anyone to do this ever. Anyway, my point is, it was intense, but I don't think it was particularly awful. Well, what they did is they quarantined it, so you cannot stumble upon it, you cannot search it, you cannot link, you can only go directly there. Now, previously, they had a pop-up. There is serious content, adult content on this subreddit. You must be over 18 to view. Would you like to continue? Yes, no. Reddit said that's not good enough. We're going to quarantine you. And I think ultimately what this is they want to starve the subreddit of new users and thus new content, right? So slowly it will dwindle and it will go away. And there's an example. I can't remember the subreddit that had that, but if you look at them, it's like they ban ones that are like outright racist,
Right.
and they quarantine ones that are like, I think they quarantined one that was like full blown communism, people who were like pro communism,
Yes.
and then the
At least
the
there's a
explanation.
moderator.
The explanation was like, because it promotes like
a hoax or whatever about the state of what, if you want to know more about communism in Europe, go to this website. They banned brain cells, which were like, if you're not familiar with incels, they are involuntary celibates. The subreddit was a community of these people who would.
It sounded like you said they banned brain cells.
That is what they called it. That's what it was
really?
called.
That's
They
a
banned
subreddit,
they banned the
brain cells?
subreddit incels, and then there was a new one, brain cells, and it was just like BRA incels, right? So,
okay.
and there were certain things about
Bra
this
incels.
community that are not good. Certainly, I imagine go against the terms of service, but they banned it. And then under their ban explanation, they're like, go to this website for information about healthy masculinity. And you can look at what they quarantine, which is effectively trying to starve a community, in my humble opinion, but it's just my opinion. And you can look at communities they've banned, and then you can look at the rest of Reddit, and you can be like, how do these communities still exist? I will give you an example. There is a subreddit called Fragile White Redditor, which is just about criticizing
Fragile
white Redditors, right? they just, and that's what it is. And I'm like, that is pretty racially charged, you know, and they're banning other subreddits for that kind of shit. But this one remains. So you start asking kind of questions.
But whites have all the power.
Well,
So it's okay to make fun of
Therefore,
them.
it's fine.
well, I mean, so, and then they go, not just do they quarantine, in their explanation, they're like, you know, we quarantine you, you need to, for a month, you need to talk to the Reddit admins, you need to make some changes, new rules, new mods, and we need a month of behavior that conforms to our plan with you moving forward, like I'm paraphrasing, but it needs to be at least a month that we can see there's real change in the community. And some of their phrasing was like, because like if we quarantine you, then it can wake up the community that something is wrong with their behavior. And then in these explanations of these subreddits that they banned or quarantined, like the communist one, they post links to sites. So they're like, you are doing something wrong. Here's what we think is right. You know, they ban brain cells and they go, here's what healthy masculinity looks like. And people were criticizing it because the guy who wrote the resource was removed from the UN for sexist remarks. He doesn't think that men can be domestically abused, allegedly. You know, I didn't follow too much, but I was reading the comments because, you know, that's what you do on the internet. But it's like, it feels so much like you have wrong think, here is right think. I'm like, and then they sit back and like, whoa, can't, this is no. But you're like, look at all this other garbage you're letting through. Look at all this stuff. And they're like, well, what can we do? What can we do? It's just so bizarre. It is so bizarre.
How bizarre?
So bizarre. And the thing is that there is not, what do you do? What do you do? Like, what do I do as a casual user or whatever if I think what they're doing is incorrect? Do I flame them with my 0 listeners or followers on 0 followers on Twitter?
I mean, not many people are as good at flaming as you.
Right. Or what do I somehow gouge them, like remove some avenue of money? Like, in a world where we don't have perfectly logical, fully informed consumers, which is the one, in fact, in which we live, there's nothing they can operate with this level of impunity, and it is truly bizarre. And I have learned a lot from Frank in that I used to, when the podcast first started,
Really unfortunate.
I'd be really upset about this, right? I'd be, why is the industry doing it? But it is the way that it is, you know? And I'm just kind of pointing at it and go, this is wild. Absolutely wild. Maybe it'll shake out in the end. I mean, maybe it will.
Who did I see? Whose wording I will now totally butcher. Shit.
What was that?
We're fucked.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
We're fucked. Bring on the nukes.
So, and just to
Drone
be
strike.
clear, because I think some people who are listening may be slightly confused by the original point Bill was making with regards to like
About
these
gambling?
companies. Well, I mean, in general, right? Well, I think what Bill just said kind of hit home. So I want to really drive home the point of what he said was that companies are trying to play both sides of the fence, like he said, where they want to police content, but then they also don't want to be held responsible when they police it poorly. Right. So
things fall through the cracks.
Yeah, exactly. So they want to be able to tell people what they are and aren't allowed to say. But if somebody says something that is against what they're supposed to be allowed to say and someone else complains about it, they don't want to be held responsible for that. So they want to create rules but not have to actually follow them. And they're creating these rules themselves without input from anyone else and then arbitrarily enforcing them to their own whims. And that's not a good process. And what Bill's point was about the idea of a public space is that you can't do that in a public space. You can't create a public space for people to come hang out. Like a company can't buy a park or a plot of land and then make a park that is open to the public for people to hang out in. A great example is a mall, right? You are allowed to kick people out of a mall if they're behaving poorly, but they still have rights, right? Like you can't, if somebody comes in protesting something in your mall and they're following your rules around what you're allowed to do to protest, you can't kick them out anyway and then expect no repercussions, right? On the internet right now, that's what Google is doing. Other companies as well, right? It's not just Google. It's basically every internet company wants the impunity to be able to say, we don't like what you're doing, go away, but allow someone else to do the exact same thing or something materially similar. And that's kind of where people are getting really angry with them, right? So especially with this content where people are actually making money off of it, there's no real way for the average YouTube content creator to sort out what YouTube's policy is. So they always have this risk of getting shut down, even though they followed all of Google's letters to a T, and they have absolutely no recourse for that because there is none, right?
Google's in control of the recourse.
Google is a judge, jury, and executioner on what's allowed.
Yeah.
And they're not the only company that operates like that, but because of that pure impunity that they have, where there's no recourse to get around what rules they make, and they're not it doesn't matter if they enforce them arbitrarily, and it doesn't matter if they enforce them selectively. Basically, as long as they conform with very, very, very low standards, there's nothing that you can do about it. Like theoretically, you could sue Google if you were, some protected class. You could sue Google for, well, you only shut down my channel because of this, but like good luck proving that, because they could probably show 5 million examples of other channels that they shut down for the same reason they shut down yours that weren't. So it's really a precarious place for anybody creating content. And that, like I said, it's not just Google and YouTube. It's most
Facebook,
content.
Twitter,
Yeah.
Reddit. Pick one.
Yeah. Yeah, almost all the major sites. They want to be able to do what they want without anybody second guessing them or telling them that they're wrong. And even if it hurts a lot of their general user base and content creators, they don't really care. They would rather just be able to do whatever they want with no repercussions. Because I mean, ultimately, that's like the goal. That's like the wet dream of every business.
That's my wet dream. I don't want repercussions for things.
Yeah. But we live in the real world where we've decided that there are repercussions for things, and I don't know how we've gotten to this point.
Let's get the purge going.
Purge.
I want my repercussions to be tons of dollars in my pocket.
dire repercussions.
Yeah. Oh no, I have so much money. What do I do?
No.
Oh no, everyone loves me and they pay me because they love me and my stuff. In a monumental first, Billy Two Guns appointed president of North America for life.
America.
Everyone in all those countries totally cool with it.
Unanimous
Did you say
vote.
Yeah.
President for life.
Yeah.
Unanimous. Popular vote.
Everybody in all 3 countries in North America took a knee and pointed to the sky, and my face appeared, and they said, "That's what we want. That's what we want."
Oh no.
And then all the birds in North Korea sang in English. Have your coronation.
Announcing it.
Gods, we love your podcast, our cut. Well, that's the market we need to break into. Yeah, I think once
my
North
goodness.
Korea starts consuming,
Kim Jong Un.
yeah,
He's like,
that is 22.
yeah, it's fine.
That's like 22 million listeners we could get right there. We need Dennis Rodman. Help us
Leisler,
out.
show us your commie ways.
Those are secret, Jake.
Dennis Rodman, please
Come
take
on.
our episodes over and give them to Kimmy J. And
Kimmy.
yeah, and then have them, yo, Big
Kit Kat.
K.
Kim Cat.
Kim Cat.
Kim Cat.
All right, everybody. I think we've given you enough to ruminate on. Catch you on the flip side.
So did you know that the CIA has a microphone that you can point at like a computer and it will pick up the tiny vibrations that the CPU unit makes when it processes things and then can recreate what it did?
No. I didn't know that.
I say no, but only because it's bullshit.
They've got one pointed at me constantly, and it's actually the Spice Network.
What?
I'm
Wait, what?
confused. Like, you're constantly playing the Spice Network?
You're on your own, Frank.
I have no idea what this...
I get
Bill,
it.
did you understand it?
No.
I understood.
Mm-mm.
Frank is a porn machine.
Exactly.
The Spice Network?
No one knows what the Spice Network is. 'Cause
No.
we were talking about porn.
It was a
earlier.
porn channel on TV back in the day. I don't know if it
Was.
still exists.
Oh,
Oh
I
my
thought it was
God,
a
I forgot
cooking
you're
channel.
old.
Why are you referencing old shit when the CIA is currently doing this?
They've probably been doing it for a long time.
We were just talking about the Pornhub network earlier. Could have gone with one of those.
Whatever.
Poor form.
Well, when his initial
Ooh.
joke file was created, it was back then.
Not all the variables were updated.
Yeah.
Insert reference.
Valiant attempt, but poor form.
What is that?
The Awooga.
Problem occurred. Error. Reference did not go over. Rewrite joke.
Or did it go over all of our heads?
This is disappointing.
I want to die.
Robo?
Please move on.
Do not.
Is that a turkey call?
Enough.
I have the power.
Okay. That's
All right.
actually a robot voice in the game Chibi Robo, so
Did you voice act it?
I wish.
Good job.
Frank. Game stuff. You played one of the most recent Tomb Raiders, or is the recent one?
So I don't think the new one is out yet. I don't remember what it's called, but I've played the most recent, to my knowledge, Tomb Raider, Rise of the Tomb Raider, which is the second of the trilogy, with the third one due to release shortly, within the next few weeks. And I really like it.
Oh yeah.
Jake, I believe, has played most of it.
I'm near the end, but I never finished it.
And I'm thoroughly impressed. It's like a combination almost of Uncharted. It's really more Uncharted than Assassin's Creed, but I personally think it's like a combination of the two of them.
It's hard to define, but I think there definitely is an Assassin's Creed angle to it.
Yeah.
But very Uncharted as well, and very fun.
Yeah. The story is good. It's got great settings. The mechanics play well. It's got some RPG elements, which I honestly could do without.
They're on the light side,
Yeah.
and it's kind of took the perk approach.
Yeah.
What do
Right.
you mean by some RPG? Like what?
Like you improve at various skills. So are you going to get real good at like shooting versus using your bow and arrow, I think, use it versus like melee weapons,
Yeah.
stuff like that. There's other things for like, there is a pretty light crafting system too.
Yeah.
That involves hunting and scavenging for like herbs and plants and stuff. How effective are you? Dude, it's been over a year. I don't remember. You have it more fresh in your head.
Yeah, I mean that's essentially what it is. You can craft a few things, weapon wise, slightly improve the weapons that you have. You can get a couple of skills that make you slightly better. Like one of the skills you can get is like you can recover more arrows that you shoot. Another one is like you recover damage faster. And you gain experience for doing different things, finding lost artifacts, translating ancient runes and whatnot. Defeating major enemies, getting through the story, all that stuff, all the stuff that in an RPG you would expect to gain experience from. Overall, the leveling system and everything, and the crafting system is really not all that fleshed out, and it doesn't hinder the game in any way, for sure. Like it's just a thing that's there, and it looks quite honestly half-assed. So I always question when you put something in there like that. Why did you half-ass it? This is a game that clearly had a major budget. By the way, apparently, I think this game came out in like 2016, so it's a little on the older side, which sticks with our theme of only reviewing games years after they've been developed.
Well, don't worry. When RDR comes out,
yes, we will all have played mountains of that.
As long as you have 100 gigabytes of space on your PlayStation.
I'm going to need to get a new hard drive. I have a 2 terabyte.
And also one for your PlayStation.
Yes. I will buy it on Xbox.
So who's the enemy in this Tomb Raider? The Mighty Ligma?
No, it's a
What is
group
that?
called Trinity.
What is what? What is what?
What you just said. I'm afraid to repeat it now.
What did I say?
I feel like it's a trap.
It is 100%, and no, Will, I'm not going to lig your balls.
Damn it, Genevieve, come on! The Mighty Ligma balls.
You were too excited for me to repeat that. That's what gave it away.
Oh, well.
Bill, you are an enigma to me.
Ligma.
Please continue.
Yeah. So I don't have you. So
The Trinity.
yeah.
Yes.
The little
Triforce.
Ligmity.
Ligmity.
I'm sorry, dear Lord, I'm sorry.
So yeah, there's this group called Trinity. They are, when I say, one of the reasons I associated it with Assassin's Creed more so than, or not more so, I still, it's way more like Uncharted than Assassin's Creed, but the main reason that I said it is Assassin's Creed like is because of the story where you're like following your ancestors, your dad, in fighting this ancient organization that has been in power for a long time and secretly trying to do some religious stuff. Whereas Uncharted, it's you're a dude looking for stuff that'll make you rich, and there's other people that also want to be rich.
You are kind of following your history, though, because, like, at least in the first one, you're following some kind of treasure that I can't remember if it's your like grandfather was either hunting for or that you're related to.
Yeah, but the point is, it's
transporting
all treasure hunting.
Right.
Right. The main difference between
Your Pap Sugma?
Stop.
Sugma butt?
Suck my butt.
Oh,
You're cut off.
Bill.
Bill is just tickled pink with this shit.
Oh my goodness.
he is quite pink right now.
I mean, come on.
So pleased with himself. Oh my gosh.
There's another one on the internet like Ligma that I read and I couldn't think of it, so I was like, let me come up with Sugma.
Bill, you know what? We need to get him.
Make it stop.
Yeah, we need to get him 2 CDs.
No.
2 CDs?
Yeah.
No.
What?
2 CDs, nuts.
Oh my goodness.
That was it.
Wow. It actually happened again.
All right, so what? Your Pap,
Pap.
nameless. He had some treasure.
So that's Uncharted.
The Nathan Drake Uncharted.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, and
Situation.
that's the difference that I was trying to point out, and it's a small difference, I guess. It's all about the motivation. In Assassin's Creed, right? There's this company that invents this technology that allows you to live through your ancestors. You're looking at basically the entire history of the Templars versus the Assassins, and it's all like religious kind of end of the world stuff.
You don't spend any time banging your grandma?
No, it's not Back to the Future, but.
That would be Mom. but-
Uncharted is like your family has always been treasure hunters, and you're just there to find stuff that exists for the most part that's worth a lot of money, and then sell it to make money.
Wait, I don't know what Uncharted was National Treasures for.
Yes, it's essentially national treasure.
I'm
in
more
video
surprised
game
that there's
form.
stuff that exists.
Yeah, and
Do the
then
declaration.
in Tomb Raider, it's all about the religious aspect, right? Your dad was on the verge of discovering the secret to immortality, and it has to do with a bunch of old religious relics. So, there's this group that for thousands of years has been trying to search for this relic and is close, now when you're also close, and they're also hunting it. And it's the difference is the motivation via money versus the motivation via religion.
I have
Power.
2
Yeah.
questions.
Okay.
First one, does it have impossible climbing
Yes.
parts where you're like,
You have
no
some
religious people in their stupid robes are climbing up this giant wall to get to the top to pull a lever to open a secret door?
I was so the opening scene to the game, you're ice climbing up a mountain in the Himalayas.
As you do.
Yeah. And I mean, you can get the spikes or the shoes with the spikes on it, right? And then the little, like, they look like mini
Little pickaxes?
sickles.
Climbing axes,
Yeah,
yeah.
climbing axes. And you can climb up a sheer cliff of ice like that. But you're doing shit where, there's a section of 10 feet of rock above you, and then you, like, from implanted with, like, 2 feet and 1 pickaxe in the ice, jump up 10 feet ahead of you, and then with one arm latch
You
into
don't
the ice.
Pull your entire body up.
Not
10
just your
feet?
body, but also all of your climbing equipment
that's
and
true.
like tent and all that
And then the
shit.
metal shoes you've got on.
Yeah,
With one hand.
Are you Star Fox? Metal shoes?
Lara
No,
Croft.
like your metal spike shoes.
Lara Croft is leagues ahead of Olympic strength,
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mm.
while still being like lithe and sexy.
Mm-hmm.
So what was your
The second question?
yeah.
Oh my gosh. Oh, does she die like horrific deaths in
Yes.
all like
Oh,
cutscenes?
Does she have a
like the
spike
first
go
one?
through her
Okay,
neck
yeah.
again?
Mm-hmm.
If you fuck up
Yeah.
You
in a
fuck up.
platforming / climbing section,
Yeah.
you're fucked.
Yeah. Or even some of the fight, like one of the first major fights you get into is against a burr.
What?
Shut
Shut
you
up,
are-
that's another pun. What the fuck did you just say?
Burr.
You are not burr prepared.
Burr prepared.
One must always be prepared for bursts.
Yeah.
It's very important.
So
How'd your
you,
kids? How'd your wife?
Impertinent.
yeah, you're not
Very
prepared to battle a bear at all, and then a bear rears its ugly head at you
Burrs.
and
He's like,
growls and is
"Grr."
very angry that you're in his space.
like the first
I
time
feel
in
like we've
Skyrim,
come up
but
with
you're
like a child's book. Like,
how to be prepared for bird.
The hurry bird, gers, grr.
a Flurby.
So I lost to the bear the first time. Really, the first time you run into it, you have to run away
How do you fight it?
with a bow and arrow, and then by dodging and then digging your climbing pickaxes into its face.
You don't fist fight it because
No.
like
You're
Barehanded.
not quite that
Bare
strong
knuckle boxing.
in that moment for some reason.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but the 10-foot jump.
Like I
Yeah.
really want the quick time event, the QTE, to be like you like slip a couple of its bear punches as it's on its hind legs, and then you like shove your forearm into its gut and you just fucking uppercut it right behind its bear balls. And it's like that was very uncomfortable, but in bear like. And then
In
all,
bear.
and then all the
In-
squirrels are like, "Oh,
Native
fuck,
bear tongue.
dude! Like that was not cool, but she was gonna lose because you're a giant bear." And then he's like really embarrassed, and
Embarrassed.
This is gonna be the end of my bear career.
Yeah.
I'll never recover from
And
this.
then a Sam Squanch takes a selfie as the bear's is writhing in pain. He's like,
There's a Sam Squanch
World
now?
Star, hip hip.
As you recall, Frank, this is exactly how it played out in the game.
Yep.
A different bear says World Star.
No, it was a
No,
Sam
it's a Sam
Squanch.
Squanch.
Sam Squanch, sorry.
We've all
Yeah.
seen the video where a bear really does get himself hitting the balls and he like walks around like, God, and he like kind of
Oh,
rolls around.
yeah. I
Yeah.
think someone sent that to you. Right?
Yeah.
I saw it on Reddit and I sent it to you.
It
Ah,
was
there we go.
hilarious. Poor bear.
Yeah. Sucks to be that
Hilaire,
bear.
is that the word we're using now?
Hilaire bear.
Hate you all.
Yeah. So you
Hilaire bear.
you
the
kill
Care
this
Bears.
bear. You brutally murder this bear in his hometown
Yep.
in broad daylight. And
It's
then
home cave. Yeah.
His home in his house?
Yes.
On the home cave turf.
Home
Oh
invasion.
my god, you're a home
Wait,
invader.
was the cave happen? Did it happen to be located in Dallas?
You guys are really into this bear.
Because
I'm
bears
ready
are
to,
awesome.
I've been ready to move on.
We're-
since-
Yeah.
I made a
Bird
topical
bird.
reference right
We're-
there.
You're about to
Or-
talk about the police officer that shot her boyfriend in
Or-
his
Was it her
house.
boyfriend?
Well, they were a thing. I don't know if it was boyfriend.
Wait,
Was there
what
a
does that have to do
climbing
with-
axe embedded in his face?
The
The
bear?
bears or the boyfriend?
bear.
The boyfriend.
No.
The boyfriend's a bear.
I thought you were saying, was there a climax?
Was there
like,
a
did
climax?
The boyfriend come?
Did,
So fun. I
Did
was like,
he-
whoa, Jake, all right.
did he bust a nut after he died? I need to know.
Well, his testicles exploded, but
It was a hell of an uppercut.
That's a climax.
The pressure from punching right in the friggin' grundle drove too much matter into the balls. Where the pee
Wait,
is
out of
stored
the-
changed my mind.
Wait, what? The balls where the pee
this
is.
conversation
balls are where pee is
deteriorated
stored.
so.
And we're back.
Yeah. So
Oh boy.
Bears have bad.
it's look that part is all irrelevant. The part that is relevant is there are RPG elements, right? And they're just not fleshed out, you know. So it's just a question of why did you really have to implement these if they're so.
I feel like that had to be a boardroom. Like this game Fallout 4 did pretty well. We need those RPGs.
Yeah. I don't know.
That the
Elements.
kids talk about.
There's a great chance that is exactly what happened. It doesn't matter because it should have been fleshed out in some sort of testing that, like, yeah, this just doesn't work and it doesn't make it a better game. We either need to invest more time and develop it more deeply or just cut it out altogether because
I
it
don't
just muddies
think-
it up.
I'm not as apprehensive of it.
No, it's not. Look, my point is that it's not bad.
Yeah,
right?
not bad. It doesn't
It's-
detract from the game.
Do we know if it's coming back in the third one that's coming out? Maybe they've developed it more.
Maybe they are. I don't know. But I disagree, Jake, that it does detract from the game
Because there's
by
no bears
adding more
involved.
stuff to do that you don't need to do. You could skip pretty much all of the crafting stuff, and outside of the times where the plot requires you to make something, right? You don't need to do it any other time. You can get through the game, it seems to me, just fine. All that stuff is just there to help you, right? And give you a few different ways that you might be able to tackle a couple of specific situations. But the end result is pretty much always the same, with absolutely none of the skills, perks, and crafting items that you can make throughout the game. You could still get through every level. Now, had they had like an arcing story, we talked before about something like Detroit Become Human, where there's a massive tree of different decisions that can happen, right? And depending on how you played your character, you might be able to, like, one of the things you can level up is your different language skills, right? So let's say in the beginning you invested a ton of time into learning Greek, and you get to a part of the game where there's basically like an answer to one of the puzzles you're trying to find, but it's like you have to have a really high, like, know Greek really well, ancient Greek. And you did that, so you read it. So you just are like, oh yeah, I just have to pull this lever over here, and you do it and you advance. Whereas another character who didn't invest that time would have to go try and figure out a way to around this area, and that creates a bunch of extra stuff. And maybe there's a story point that happens over there that wouldn't happen otherwise, right? That would be a great way, I think, to implement this, but that's not the case. It's really just...
You do need to, as it stands,
Yeah.
you do need to learn those languages, I
Yes.
think, over time. And you do kind of have to go out of your way and do some of the optional, like, puzzle rooms and stuff to get quite a bit of that knowledge. which is very reminiscent of the early Assassin's Creed games.
Yeah.
And possibly old Tomb Raider. I never played
definitely.
I never played the old Tomb Raider games.
I played a lot of them.
Yeah. In fact, Rise of Tomb Raider is the most recent, currently released Tomb Raider game, and the only one I've played in any significant length. But yeah, I mean, like, when you do that, you know, there's lots of unlockables. And for the most part, I didn't find them tedious.
No, and all of the ones. So I've done like 2 of the optional puzzle rooms or whatever, puzzle maps, whatever you want to call them, and they've both been awesome and really interesting.
Puzzles are really cool.
Yeah, they really are.
I got some hands-on with the Tomb Raider game before this one. Mm-hmm. I guess the first of this recent trilogy.
I think it was just called Tomb Raider.
Yeah, it was.
And the puzzle, I'm not super familiar with platformers, especially more modern ones, but I was really struck by the quality of the room puzzles available. I was like, wow, this shit is really well put together. And it, like, one of the biggest problems I ever have in video games is where I'm trying to progress, like I've defeated all the enemies or whatever, and I cannot figure out that we criticized a game. Well, we discussed this about a game 2 weeks ago. It was like there's
Shadow Complex.
Shadow Complex. Yeah, there was a hole that you had to find, and it really slowed you down. I found that the quality of the games did not, like, you could deduce what you were supposed to do. Everything made sense, and it sounds like that quality continued into this iteration.
Yes, absolutely. And while I only played the first one, I don't remember how long I played it, but it was not anywhere close to get a really good informed opinion of the game compared to the 12 to 15 hours I've put into this one so far. I would agree that it's actually gotten better. So in addition to all that, one thing that I really wanted to point out to maybe those who played the game when it came out, it might be worth a replay because it got a 4K Xbox One X enhanced remake or update, I should say, not remake. So it is available in 4K with upgraded texture packs to make up for that, and it looks so good. I mean, it's like playing a movie in a lot of the, and that's one thing that I wish they would have taken. So there's a lot of times in the game where somebody like me, who tends to be more of a completionist, starts to bog down because you get these small. It happens to me in Assassin's Creed too, where you're in this map area and there's a bunch of shit you can do, and I want to do it all. I want to 100% the game. So then I just get bogged down doing all the minutia of each little map,
collecting all the treasures.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh, I need another shanty shard, you know. Well, there's 2 more, so I got to get those, and then I got to go pick up all these other things over here. And it's like, I understand that they're all optional, right? A lot of this stuff, but to me, I end up doing it. I get bogged down, and this is a game where I think a strength is in how it looks, the puzzles, the environments that it's in. The story actually seems pretty engaging right now, and if it focused more on that, I think it would be an even better game, right? I hate to use the word streamlining because streamlining tends to be simplifying, and in my experience so far, when somebody says they streamlined a game, like when they streamlined Oblivion to Skyrim or streamlined Fallout 3 to Fallout 4, they made it a lot simpler, reduced the features, and kind of broke the core elements that I enjoyed of the game. But in this case, I feel like it would just be a better game without some of that stuff. Just a lot simpler, breeze through it, kind of get that almost like you're playing an action movie experience. That's what I'm looking for in this game.
I think my most charitable guess would be that they were worried they weren't giving enough user content, right? It was just a lack of confidence in what they're putting.
They don't want to make her lie. I tried to believe, where you just click through everything.
Dude, my dad still hasn't finished that. I can't wait. And here's the thing:
we might have to have him on just.
I love my dad a lot, but I know our time is running short because when he finishes the game, his head will explode. You know. And then what am I going to do? So I'm conflicted. I want him to find the ending, but I'd rather have my father around. I don't know.
You're in the midst of a really serious moral quandary. I'm sorry. The recent Bethesda games, we talk about them a lot because I love them and I put way too much time into them. That's not ignorant of their flaws.
Yeah.
Many, many, many little cumulative flaws that most of which are nonsensical and are purely the result of Todd Howard, literally in as many words, streamlining.
Yeah.
Right? trying to make it more sleek and stuff. Well, what that results in is the appearance of trying to straddle. I still claim to be an RPG, but I also want to be like a tight first person shooter. I got bad news, dude. Like,
yeah, they're two different things.
that is I'm not going to say it can't be done, and courtesy of the modding community, I think I have done it right.
Yeah.
You can tighten up the shooting mechanics, you can broaden the RPG elements to a point, not so much with the dialogue necessarily, but at least mechanically how the game progresses, your stats and whatnot, and I'm doing the same thing with Skyrim now too, kind of re-injecting what was removed from it in terms of RPG elements, courtesy of the modding community. Tomb Raider almost seems to be coming at it from the other way.
Yeah, where it was before like a pure action adventure game, and they're moving more,
adding in these RPG elements.
Yeah.
And again, I mean, I'm okay with a light stat progression type mini RPG aspect to such a thing.
Yeah.
Totally. And it's been done in many different ways. From something light like Devil May Cry, where it's really all you're really doing is buying moves for your moveset. But it's a form of progression.
Yeah.
Right? To things that are, I mean, what would you, if you look at a game like Dark Souls, okay, RPG.
Yep.
All caps, right?
Isn't it always all caps?
70. Thanks.
You're welcome.
But okay, the combat is slowish, but it's tailor-made.
Yep.
And it is not, turn-based. There's no question about hitboxes usually.
No,
It's
there
like-
isn't. That
it
game is hitbox porn to a T.
It is fair and balanced and not
Fox News.
Fox News or fake news. That is real news, and it doesn't give a fuck about your opinion, and it perfectly balances the two.
Yes.
Okay, you can argue it's more RPG heavy, but I put to you, what do the stats matter if when you go to use them in combat, the fighting
You
system
can beat
fails.
the game at soul level 1.
Yeah. So that is those games are sort of a masterclass in what we're talking about.
Yes.
In Tomb Raider's case, like from what I remember, okay, some aspects of it might have been, I just said it wasn't tedious, but some aspects may have been to some people. I didn't mind so much a light crafting system. I will say all
of them, the crafting system is the best. Like compared to the RPG elements of like progressing your character, the RPG is the crafting system is a lot better.
You said it's not mandatory that you could go through the whole game without it, or you just
you
feel like you
kinda-
could take that out and it would be okay.
The second,
Okay.
they make you do some of it, right?
Okay.
Just mostly to introduce you to how to do it, right?
All right.
So to beat that bear at first, they're like, you have to go make some poison arrows that will explode in a poison cloud near the burr and then stun it so that you can take a couple of shots of your arrow with it. They make you do that, right? And like I said, the crafting is much better than the RPG elements. But yes, I feel like without any of it, the game would have been just fine without it.
Okay.
Now, to Jake's point, if they are continuing to flesh this out and develop these more so that as they make more games, we see more of it, that's fine with me, right? Like I said, it doesn't necessarily, it's not bad, it's not annoying, and it's not in my way. But I'd be okay without it. And I do, for a game like this, right, I would probably prefer if they're not going to really flesh it out, like just don't try.
This is a perfect example of excuse me, a game ripe for the picking for a modding community. I imagine it's ported to, is it a PlayStation exclusive or is it ported to PC?
It's an Xbox game. It might even be an Xbox exclusive.
It was at first. It's no longer.
Okay. Yeah.
It was like a temporary exclusive.
So if I were
I
were the company that makes this game,
Tomb Raider?
we'll use, if I were the company that makes Tomb Raider, I think it's the White House does it. I would release the game and I'd be like, all right, everybody mod it, please. PC port day 2, because you got to be, you got to make them wait a little bit. And then whatever the community comes up with that's super dope, I would just put that in the next game. You don't have to do all that R&D on stuff that you're not good at. If they're not good at making RPG elements, just because by virtue of inexperience or resource limitation, let the community guide you, and then just steal it, right?
Yeah.
They're not paying you all the time, but then again, you're not paying out money to just take their ideas. It's great. It's great. It's free stuff. So
I don't disagree. Regardless, I don't think, like I said, I don't think it really hurts the game. So it doesn't bother me too much, and it's still a great game. I appreciate some of the standouts. I'll say are the graphics and the environments and the level design. Probably like the best that I've seen. I think it's better than Uncharted.
wow.
Yeah, personally, I haven't played Uncharted in a while. I might be wrong. I don't remember. There is an Uncharted that came out relatively recently, and I have not played it. So it's probably unfair to compare them. But from what I remember of Uncharted, I like this more in terms of level design and graphics.
I don't really have experience playing either, so I'm just going to speak out of my butt here. But the sense
That's what
that
we do on this podcast.
the sense that I got about Uncharted was that it was more oriented towards like living a movie,
Yes.
whereas Tomb Raider it's an old
Action adventure game.
it's a
platformer.
platformer.
And that's why when I originally said my what I thought the game was, I thought it was a combination of Assassin's Creed and Uncharted, because they have those times where it is like Uncharted, where it is like playing a movie. But then they've also got those times where it's like Assassin's Creed, where you've got this map you can run around and collect all these things and do all this stuff, right? And also has the mini RPG elements. That doesn't really exist in Uncharted, right? You're playing through the story and seeing what happens. And in this game, there's definitely some open world stuff where you can hang out and see what all is available for you to explore. Nothing wrong with that. I enjoy it. And in fact, I hope they keep it like that, because it gives you something different than Uncharted. And maybe that's one of the reasons that I like it more. I tend to enjoy the open world stuff. I tend to enjoy having some more freedom. I don't know if it's really necessary or not for this style of game, but if I'm enjoying it so much, clearly they're doing it right.
Yeah, I mean, I think sort of my point I was getting to was that it's not quite apples and oranges, but almost of course you're going to enjoy Tomb Raider better, because Uncharted's sort of a specific, sort of narrow experience. Not to detract from any part of that, but I mean, Tomb Raider's like, it's been around. There's a lot of stuff going on.
Oh, hey, at this point,
What?
Uncharted's been out for a while. I mean, I remember playing that when I was in college 10 years ago.
Good point. I'm old. We're getting
Granted, Tomb Raider's been around for 20 years, right? I remember playing the first Tomb Raider for the original PlayStation when I was a kid.
With the
man,
pointy
I-
boobs?
Yes, with
I had a
pointy
dream
boobs.
I was in a game store and there was the original PlayStation for like $30, another N64 for $13.
That would be so
I was
nice.
just buying I was fucking spending all my money on these old systems. I loved it. What a good dream it was.
Yeah. So,
And then did you fight a bear?
I am a bear.
yeah.
He fought himself.
I mean, I'm
So, for
excited.
territory.
This is a great example of a game. I don't think I mentioned this, but Rise of the Tomb Raider is on Xbox Game Pass, right?
What?
Yeah. So I downloaded it and I've been playing it, and I did not spend one dime on this particular game. It's all part of my my Game Pass monthly fee, which continues to be the best value entertainment that I have ever spent. Well, maybe Civ 5, because I spent $100 on that with all the DLC and got 2,500 hours of entertainment. But this, I think personally, for the breadth of entertainment that you get, this probably is, the Game Pass continues to be an extremely strong offering on Microsoft's part. And them offering quality games like this on it, just the value that it creates. I mean, Fallout 4, another game that we rave about all the time, is on it. They're debuting Forza Horizon 4, which I'll absolutely be playing. That's a great value. And this is what's in it for the developers, I think, is especially when you do something like this where, hey, third game in a series is coming out. Let's throw the second one up on Game Pass and see who wants to play it. I play it. I love it. There's a good chance I'll buy the third one.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Final thoughts on Rise of the Tomb Raider?
Great game. If you haven't played it and you have Game Pass, just download it. Play it. Give it a shot. If you don't like it, you're only going to waste an hour or two. Chances are you're going to like it because it does a lot of things well. It sucks you in right from the beginning. Got good acting, voice acting. Like I said, great graphics, level design, and all that stuff. And it's exciting. I mean, it's definitely a game where your palms are going to be sweaty when you're doing some stuff.
I'm not making.
Spaghetti?
God damn it! I was just gonna say we're beyond that reference. Jake,
We're not.
you sent us a video. The podcast in the chat group. You sent us a video of the 5 essential mods to make Skyrim, to put the RPG back in Skyrim. And I watched the video and I thought it was really great content. Then I recently saw you signing in and out of Skyrim every 10 or 20 seconds. I imagine troubleshooting, getting the game to launch. Have you seen success in this? Were you installing some of these recommended 5 essential
All 5
mods?
of them.
And
Several more.
can you tell us about your experience post the installation?
It runs like butter. It's the
Like
best.
butter.
It's the best, most stable, modded version of any game I've ever put together. I played it. I don't know how many hours I had it on straight yesterday and today. You know, even paused for extended periods. The only issues I've really had. I mean, there's an occasional crash to desktop, but a Bethesda game will do that anyway. Once on a blue moon, or more often if your system's older. And trying to think, there were some conflicts. The one mod on that list was an overhaul of the alchemy and food crafting, which conflicted with Bethesda's survival creation to add survival mode to Skyrim. The bug being that in survival mode, of course, you have to eat, sleep, drink, stay warm, all that good stuff, or you'll suffer
like
stat
real life.
debuffs and die. Yeah. And with the overhaul to the food that mod was imposing, it was messing with the native resources for all the food items, so food no longer reduced your hunger.
You just have to keep eating constantly.
None of it worked.
So
You would just starve,
that sounds like
Survive.
like a legitimate curse in like a medieval fairy tale.
right?
Eat and eat, but you will never be not hungry.
It sounds like a curse for legit, and it
That
would
would
be,
suck.
and something like that would be canon in, or would be potential canon in the Elder Scrolls universe.
You're just 4 tons of Dragonborn in a stretched Daedric armor. I'm so hungry. Taking
Just like
huge
rolling
dino
around.
dragon dumps every day, but never satisfied.
But yeah, I mean, so all I had to do with that is just disable survival mode, and it fixed itself. Or, you know, my next save, I'll turn off the overhaul mod, which is a shame because I wanted to have more food options for if I'm going to be starving and shit. Like, make it its own skill. Like, give me, you know, let's overhaul this, because food in basic Skyrim is pretty pointless. But with the exception of the vegetable soup
Why?
exploit,
What is
What's
that?
that?
all you need to execute a power attack with a melee weapon is some stamina. Vegetable soup restores your stamina 1 point per second for like 20 minutes.
Oh.
So you wait a second, power attack. You wait a second, power attack. And you just have functionally infinite stamina from a power attacking perspective.
For 20 minutes.
Who?
Not literally 20, but you know.
That sounds so ridiculous that I feel like somebody was like, "This will be funny."
It probably was.
I'm sure it was just an oversight. Because all the food items are weak in their restorative power.
You mean a wheel of cheese restoring 2 health isn't worthwhile?
Imagine carrying around a wheel of cheese.
And
With all
eating
your
it
other
with
armor
one
and
click.
stuff.
100 wheels of cheese.
Only cheese.
For 2
Wheels of the
cabbage.
cheese go.
Cabbage.
Oh.
Squish.
Fish.
Melt.
Ugh.
Melty cheese. Anyway, it's
This isn't
fucking
an ASMR
Skyrim.
video.
Yeah, I mean, the other, I'm
whatever.
not just going to rattle off that list, and I didn't expect this topic, so I didn't prepare anything. But in a nutshell, perk overhaul. So all the perk trees are redone. There's like something like 300 or 400 new perks.
What?
And all the existing ones are utterly revamped to be useful. So since you cannot directly put points into a skill, which will then grant you benefits that way, Skyrim moved, and Fallout 4 also moved to a perk system. You level up, you choose a perk. If you're in Skyrim's case, if your skill is sufficient to be eligible for a given perk, then that perk is open to you to choose from. If not, you can't choose it. And in order to get there, you have to develop your skill. One of the unique things with the Elder Scrolls has been developing skills through using those skills rather than arbitrarily assigning points to them. And they haven't done it right throughout the series, necessarily, in terms of having it make any sense. But in principle, it's a really good idea. And they were onto something with Skyrim. But the perks were just really underwhelming. So all the speech skill did, for example, was get you better prices at shops. Well, it's a Bethesda game. By the time you're in your 20s, in terms of level, you will have a major stake in the economy of the province, and you will not want for anything unless you're me, and you must have everything.
I cannot stop feeling hungry, guys.
I
need all the food.
Someone pray to RK. The hunger mechanic is broken.
I really like this idea that I've sort of come up with. The reason that you can be level 20, which is not very high, and have a major stake in the economy is because everybody in that world is a simpleton except for you. So, how does money work? This is fine. You like breezing through because you're of average ability.
Well, now with this perk overhaul, I should just get the fucking names because I want to. These guys they put a shitload of work into it. These modders. Now under the speech tree, it's been fanned out. So there's like a dragon shout branch where like there's perks that improve your shouts, how fast they regenerate, auxiliary effects granted. Bill is scrambling around his couch looking for something. There's a perk for that.
I was looking for my
can make
phone
him
to
look
try to
more
look this up while
frantic.
you're talking, but I don't know where the hell my phone got to.
Oh,
If it's
don't
up your
sweat
ass,
it.
you know
'Cause
it.
I'm an insane person.
I do have a literal list of mods.
So I think
I also wasn't done.
I was going to kill time while you pulled it up.
But okay, let me continue with the speech tree. Okay, there's okay, better prices, sure, fine. But there's also the dragon shouts. There's like bard powers now, so you can play a legitimate bard character, which has been a staple since D&D. Where like once a day you can like perform a song, and like up to 5 people will show up and just hand you money for your performance. Shit like that, not necessarily game changing, but they make you feel like this is an RPG and you are peeing an R in your G.
What?
Playing a role in your game.
I think the best development through usage of a skill is public speaking in The Sims, because to develop that, you talk to yourself like a maniac in the mirror.
Yes,
Right?
correct.
Yeah, I think that's the most logical.
And I think most times if you go in the political career track, you eventually unlock like a podium, and you just talk to your household from this podium, and you gain more charisma skill.
Yes, I too address my household from a podium.
Yes, see?
By household, do you mean your house, as in the structure?
My house.
Yep, my
If you,
roommates.
if you don't live with anyone, then yes.
I dress
If
myself.
anyone's there, they just keep walking around like it's normal.
Look at this crazy asshole.
I mean,
It's like, come on, Mom, stop it.
the reason I sound so eloquent on the mic most of the time is because I too walk around public with a podium and set it down in places.
You walk around.
You just walk around with it and put it down
I
before
just
you
set
say
it down,
something.
in the middle of the street right next to Bill's house, and we just wait for a crowd to.
to accumulate.
I practice my podcast voice while weeping deeply in an unlit bathroom and laying in the bathtub. That's really
You do usually sound like
Face
you're
down,
crying.
right?
Did you remember to bring the hairdryer in with you last time? Or
Well, clearly no.
I have no body hair or head hair or any hair, so why would I need a hairdryer?
Alien.
Ilium.
Now's the time. Now's the time, Jake. Strike with your mods.
Well, hang on. Frank needs a beer.
Oh boy.
Frank needs one of his beers from my beer fridge next to me,
What am I?
Yes.
Okay, my real question.
which he didn't bring any others of.
My real question
You got one
is
last.
Fridge with
For
the beer.
me.
my real question is if you had the chance to play all over again,
The chance I've been taking over the last week and a half.
okay, so I framed my question wrongly. If you had never played Skyrim before, do you think you should play the vanilla and then try mods, or just put these 5 mods in and just
Go to town.
go to town?
I want to tell people to play vanilla because I appreciate the work that did go into it,
That's
despite
true.
its flaws. But I am very much would love to get a brand new player fresh to the series, even, or at least just to the game, on a well kitted modded version as their first playthrough. 30 million players or however many have bought copies, however many copies of Skyrim have sold. Not the whole population of the earth, so there's plenty out there.
Earth
yeah, it is. I mean, modding is tricky. There are others, of course, of these essential mods, but that perk one in particular. Let me find the name here. It's seriously on its own, just fixes so much of the lack of immersion.
Perk mod.
What the fuck is it?
I think it's called. That's how you do the herky perky.
Nailed it.
You put your iron in, you pull your dagger out, you put your mithril in, and you wear your helmet about. You do the herky perky, and you get really improve. And that's what Skyrim is.
Dying of Fire. The mod is called Ordinator. Perks of Skyrim. You should do that if you are still playing on PC. There's also Imperious Races of Skyrim, which overhauls all the races, gives them better powers. I'm currently playing a Redguard, and it has shit like unlimited stamina outside of combat, so I can just sprint across the map the whole time. It's pretty great. What else?
Very racist.
Yeah. Definitely. No, because they're like they favor swords in the canon, so there's like perks for that associated with the race. And there's every race has like an unlockable perk, which I did, which
Does the Red Guard also get like plus 15 ability points to basketball?
And
Yes.
Redguard talks like Leos. I gotta do homework.
they're more Middle Eastern warriors, but okay. But
I just mixing it up.
they're basically modeled after like North African, Middle East folks.
Who are the kitty
So-
cats modeled after?
Cats.
What? Since when?
Anyway,
the meow meows.
the perk I had to unlock with as a Redguard
I
was
hear they have
fighting.
wares.
Was winning fights with 3 or more opponents at the same time. I had to do that 30 times,
What?
and that gives you a perk to basically like slow time and just like roid out with your swords for like 90 seconds.
Type of shit.
It's pretty good, pretty great. And then with all the with the one-handed weaponry with the perks, that whole overhaul, and the Standing Stone overhaul too, which makes all those effects like good.
Standing stones are semi-religious sites that provide buffs.
Kinda. They may also provide a detriment at the same time. Usually do. It's like a balance.
Make your wiener 10 inches longer, but your balls are super small.
Raisins. Yeah. The go-to Standing Stone in vanilla Skyrim is often the Atronak, which no.
I have literally never heard which one is the go-to, but I was like, it's probably the Atronak, because like
Atronak.
if you know anything about the game, then that's the one you're gonna. It's the only one that has any realistically like useful ability.
What to do?
for long-term use, yeah. So the Atronak Stone stops you from regenerating your magic bar over time, but instead you absorb 50% of the spells you get hit with, and take no damage from them.
What?
So even if you're not a magic, especially if you're not a magic character and you don't care about not regenerating your magic bar, you now have an effect, basically like a coin flip resistance to every mage you'll fight,
Let's be on.
who are usually your hardest opponents otherwise.
Right.
So it's really good. Now, I forget what the new Atronak one does, but I actually didn't use it this time. I'm running with the Apprentice, which now makes novice spells cast no magicka. And every time you cast a spell, there's a chance it'll either be 50% more effective than it should be or 50% less.
I thought the 8-track now played music in the 1980s. Oh, I'm sorry. That was an 8-track.
Amtrak trains?
Die in a fire.
All right.
There are many other great mods out there for Skyrim. I have a fairly lean set. Most of them are overhauls of the mechanics of the leveling system and the races and all that stuff we already talked about. Some of the crafting stuff has been overhauled. And I have some weapon packs, which mostly just modify the existing weapons in game to look more realistic, because the proportions in vanilla Skyrim are retarded. Like everything's a fucking boat paddle.
Right.
It doesn't make any sense.
Maybe one of these days we ought to do a review of your mods and post that list somewhere.
Yeah, I could definitely put up a load list for what I'm currently running. But nothing too outrageous.
All right, cool. That's awesome. That's exciting, because I was throwing around the idea, like, I've played through Skyrim, but I've never completely beaten it. And now that you're telling me, I'm going to build a Spaceship Enterprise here soon.
You should only play, like, I'll give you this load list.
Yeah, I'll do that.
With some minor tweaking. Or
Yeah. All right. So, last leg of this section before we go into another little break and wrap up with our Steam section. I finally broke Genevieve down. She bought Black Wake.
Yes.
If you guys don't know, I'm a level 591 elite.
And I think I got to level 8 last night.
So sexy.
Yeah, I'm kind of well known. It really irks me because I play with Carl, they're like, his fucking gamer tag. So he'll get on and be like, I'll be like, yo, what's up, Carl? And everybody else is like, hey, Carl. Hi, Carl. Everybody knows him because he's super cool. And nobody says hi to me because I'm a loser.
You should start saying hi to
I thought you
yourself.
were elite.
I am elite, but nobody says hi to me.
You should remind them of your eliteness.
Hi, Bill.
Hey.
Super eliteness.
Anyway, so Genevieve got on and we were playing yesterday. I think you played a game and a half, maybe?
Yes. Because I think I remember trying to jump in on a game. I think it was towards the end of like one of your last ones, and then caught a full game.
Yeah. So in real life, Genevieve and I have done manual work together. We were digging dirt, and the purpose of the dirt was to remove the grass and then level it out, right? And I was doing that. She got a shovel and was just digging holes. And I said, well, and while still helpful, not exactly what we wanted. And I was like, hey, why don't you dig this way? She goes, but I'm having fun. And I was like, okay, still helpful. Let you do your thing. So I'm setting the stage for the kind of things that she likes to do. We get into Black Wake, and I'm like, hey, why don't you aim down this cannon and shoot at this other ship?
The whole purpose of the game.
Yeah, and she's like, I'm fixing holes. And I was like, all right, well, that's really useful.
It's not really.
It might not be the most pressing need right now.
Right. I'm like, hey, why don't you hop on the pump? I've got holes to fix. Oh, okay.
At least she didn't say I have holes to fill.
Yeah.
That too.
But
that's just bad news.
so it was an experience, and I gotta tell you, I really loved having somebody I could talk to who was in the game with me, who I didn't have to talk over the mic to, right? I just turn around and be like, do this, do that, and I'm having fun. Okay, never mind.
As I'm dying constantly.
Yeah.
Like respawning. Oh, I got killed again.
One of my favorite things was like, she's like, where am I? And I was like, we're like storming another ship that we've grappled, and she's charging into the fray, leading the group into like pitched combat. She goes, where am I? Like, you are at the vanguard of the attack. Like you're being really brave right now. Pull out your gun and shoot somebody. And then I hear, oh, I'm already dead. Like, so close to being really impressive.
I don't think I shot a cannon or gun or anything.
I don't think you pulled out a gun.
There were several times when like they were boarding our ship and I would try to shoot them, and they would be about the same distance we are from each other, which is like 2 feet. And I'd pull up my gun, the grenade gun, and it would be super ineffective. Like they would just shoot me and I would die. I'd be like, well,
It's hard to come to a game like that after you're playing. What was that, House Flipper?
yes.
Yeah.
That's why you were doing nothing but patching holes.
It's a good point.
That's a really good point.
You weren't ready. You were not.
I was like, I gotta flip
You
this
were
boat.
not prepared for perts or burrs, but definitely not perts.
How did you enjoy it though? You seem like you're having a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's still, how do I want to say this? When I first opened up the game and tried playing, I think that first half game, all my settings were set on super high, like the resolution and all that. So anytime I did anything, like my mouse was way too sensitive. So it would just be like a slight shift and it would be like the blurriest wood floor and stuff. Like that's why I couldn't figure out where I was, because everything was just like blurry ship parts. Couldn't even see what I was holding really. Like
Because
it
your
was just,
settings were too high?
yeah,
Well,
or-
so she'd have a low frame rate and an insane turn rate.
Oh.
So like nothing made any sense.
So there was like 5 minutes where I was just in like the cabin of the ship. And just,
What's going on?
yeah. Thank God I don't have a mic yet.
Yeah.
Like that would have been horrible. But it was interesting. Can't remember if it was an actual player. I think it was still just a computer glitch because you never saw it. But there was one character that was like tilted on an angle the whole time, so he was like walking sideways up and down the boat, facing
Mhm.
forward.
That's what I usually do.
Yeah, and I was trying to get Bill. You walk around at an angle that defies gravity
It's called
and all reason.
sea legs. I mean, come on.
But it was consistently like leaning to the right. It was bizarre, and
True Crime Streets of LA had the same problem with its NPCs.
he kept respawning every time. Like our whole ship would respawn, and he'd be there.
Didn't exist. This person didn't exist on my screen.
Oh.
No one
just
else
mine.
mentioned it.
Just mine, and it didn't have a name over it when like usually you can see players'
There was a
names.
fucking ghost in her machine. A
That's
ghost in her
just
ghost in
trying-
her shell.
A ghost in my shell.
So
This reminds me. I was playing the game. There's recently been an update, and I saw these white things like off in the distance going up and down next to the ship, but
Ghosty
like
ghost?
not animated, but clearly suspended in air. And I was like, did they put birds in this game? And nobody acknowledged it. And then I realized that they were dead bodies that the game had not like cycled away, that were
They're
just,
just
floating in the sky next to the ship. And I thought to myself, what a preposterous. And people were like, what the fuck is this guy talking about? Birds, just floating dead bodies. There you go.
They probably just thought you were, on something. And-
Hi.
So, last thing before we wrap up, I recently started playing Counter-Strike Global Offensive again.
I have one more thing I want to talk about. for the
Yeah, go ahead.
Black Week. So another thing I noticed more than one occasion, part of repairing the ship is like you take in water and you have to pump the water out. I don't know what my character looked like while doing it, but there were several times when other people were activating the pump, and there was no like arms reaching out and like not even missing it. It was just the best way to describe it. It was as if their character was trying to blow themselves. like entire torso and head moving up and down, like
No arms involved.
but yeah, like arms just kind of like to the side, and they're looking down the whole time, so they're just kind of like they couldn't figure it out, and they were really trying, and then like it would say pumps are active, so I guess it worked.
Someone was getting pumped.
Yeah, some kind of pump was happening.
You know what got my heart pumping? I picked up CSGO again.
There we go.
Counter-Strike Global Offensive, and I used to play Counter-Strike back in the day, and I was like kind of good, but a lot of childhood rage, lots of rage back in the
Yes.
day, because that game you get dumped on, and dude, it's hitting me again. Last night, I
You
was
were
like,
riled up.
I was like, what in the fuck?
Like, slammed your fist on the table at one point.
No, you're making that up.
No, she's not.
We'll never know.
I saw it.
We'll never know.
So, but yeah, like it's one of those things. Like I just walk around the corner, I hear wink, wink, 2 shots to my head from a guy with a pistol across the map. I'm fucking dead. And like at least now I've matured enough. I'm like, oh, this person is just way better than me. Like, that's just how it's going to be. But I don't know. I fucking tell you, the most infuriating part of this game is I look at a person and I pull the trigger and I hear my gun go kablooey and my cursor's on them and then I die and they're like, nope, shot you 4 times in the head and you didn't hit them once. And I
think
go,
something's wrong with your gun.
why? I don't know. Maybe I'm gonna say lag. I'm gonna say lag. Just what I'm gonna tell myself.
That is the most likely culprit. If your account of the story is to be believed.
Yeah.
Unlikely.
Was it the what was your weapon of choice?
Well, I play a gun game,
Right.
so it just I a bunch of dog shit pistols and then a shotgun. Gotta love shooting somebody in the dick with a shotgun from 4 feet away, and they take 17 damage out of 100.
Yep.
And then he tickles my lower back with his knife.
I always
and
find
I
the shotguns
explode.
to be like really unbalanced.
Are you sure it's a knife?
Counter-Strike.
Oh, all right. Okay, great section, everybody. Stick with us
Or don't.
for the Steam thing we do every week. Oh,
With
boy.
the Steam and the
sale?
sales.
Yep.
And the,
And the
And
stuff with the
you on
games
we'll
and-
catch you on the flip side.
It's gonna get steamy. Hey everybody, we're back.
back.
All right. We're going to start our section on the Steam sale. And if you don't remember, Steam is what comes out of it. Just kidding. Okay.
Whoa.
Oh, jeez, I'm going to sneeze. Oh, no.
Oh my gosh.
Oh,
I would rate that sneeze a 6 out of 10.
no. All right.
boy. That
here
was
we
a
are.
very terrifying buildup.
Needs work.
All
Oh my God.
Yo, I just got that too.
right. Looks like some good stuff is on
glad.
sale. I almost made a purchase during the week. I saw something go on sale there, and I said, looks pretty good, but then I didn't because it didn't feel right because it wasn't Sunday after we do this section. Elder Scrolls Online 40% off. I think this Elder Scrolls Online is constantly on sale. I guess they really need more users. I don't know. Somebody here has this game, right? Frank, is it you?
Elder Scrolls Online.
Yeah, I have it on Xbox because it's on Game Pass.
Oh.
So what do you think of it? Does it...
Look, first of all, I'm not a big MMO guy.
Okay.
From what I understand, the people who are MMO people say it's all right. But if you're an MMO person and you like MMOs, like World of Warcraft is just that's the best there is.
Yeah.
And there's really no reason to play anything else.
You're a big MOM guy, right? You like those big husky moms.
Yep.
Is that...
All right, South Park franchise
Yes.
on sale.
Yep.
Now you guys have played somebody in here played the South Park games, right?
The
Jake and
first
I
one.
both played the Stick of Truth. I don't know.
Yep.
Have you ever played the Fractured Butthole?
I have not.
I actually bought this last night, and I still haven't downloaded it. I bought the package deal because I played the Stick of Truth on my sister's account, so now I have both. But yeah, I bought it while I was waiting for Blackwake to download. So might have a review for the Fractured Butthole.
Now, the Stick of Truth isn't a very long game, but if I recall the review that we did on the show, it was pretty quality. It was very good.
Yeah, it's a great game.
It
It is a solid turn-based RPG in the style of South Park.
Yes.
$7.49 right now for the first iteration. The second one, South Park: The Fractured Butthole. 67% off at $19.79. I guess if it's as good as the first one, expands a little bit, it's probably worth that $20 price range.
I know that they changed up the combat system. Instead of just being strictly like your enemies are on this side, you're on this side, your enemies on this side, turn-based go. There's like movement involved now. Using like a tile system, kind of like tactics style games. So that is a thing. But yeah, I mean, I've heard good things. Looks fun. Just haven't tried it yet.
There are parts of the first game that made me laugh as much as the original movie did when I saw it, and still see it.
All right. I think I might pick up the first one. I don't really want to spend $20 on a game right now.
After playing the first one, I felt like it was worth it. So.
All right. We don't need to click Nier Automata. That is always on sale. We talked about it at length. It's 50% off full game price.
What is Darkwood?
I think it's been out for a while though. Darkwood here, 50% off. Down to $7.49.
Is it like Slender Man?
It looks so
Darkwood,
creepy.
a new perspective.
Like.
Dude, I'm doing my voice. Come on. Darkwood, a new perspective on survival horror. Scavenge and explore a rich, ever-changing, free roam world by day. Then hunker down in your hideout and pray for the morning light. So very positive feedback. Horror, survival, top-down, atmospheric.
Top-down is kind of interesting. Most games aren't like that.
Wait a minute. I might have seen a little bit of a playthrough of this. I got to wait for some more gameplay to show up. But it's definitely positive. I guess if you're into... Oh, yeah. Okay. I've seen this played.
So it's 50% off for about $7.50.
It is hard as shit, this game.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and there's like a whole... there's like monsters out at night, and if you get caught out, they totally get you. And if like they'll break... You barricade the building that you're in, and they can break the barricades, and then they'll come get you, and you have like a light where you can view a cone coming out of your face of a field of view, and if somebody's not in that field of view, they move invisibly to you.
Oh shit.
So you can like hear a door being broken, or you can see light enter the room as something opens a window coming in, but you can't necessarily see what's coming in. So
is it pretty spooky?
Yeah, it's definitely spooky. And you're doing like, survival horror shit. You're piecing together different things to make resources, like fixing a generator, trying to build weapons, shit like that.
Genevieve, was that you that we had talked about that other horror game? It was like something of pigs or something like that. Or there was this castle and you went into the basement eventually. It was one of those...
I remember talking about...
You know what I'm talking? Was that you? This was like over a year or two ago.
Amnesia, the Dark.
Yeah, Amnesia. Yeah.
No, that was one of the.
I really liked that game. This looks very reminiscent of it.
So we just saw in the game, like something's clearly coming into the room. You hear it.
A white's dress.
It's talking. So you hear it talking, but you don't see. You see the door open. The player pushes a bookcase in front of the door. The monster has to push it out of the way. It slows it down.
So you do get to fight.
You try to run around the bookcase. Eventually, you have to fight it, and there's some level of combat. But it's got
a lot of weird images. Stuff.
It's got really cool characters in it, from what I've seen. Interesting little asides. It's sort of this.
Also, it's birthday.
It's not. Yeah,
happy
it's
birthday,
not,
Darkwood.
It's not just like it's got like spooky monsters in it. It's not just a regular human, like post-apocalyptic kind of setting. I think $7.49 is a steal for this game.
Yeah.
But scary games are scary to me, so I don't know if I could ever pick it up. Shadow Mordor, 66% off. Is that the newest one?
Shadow of War?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not.
What's the newest one?
I am unsure.
Shadow of War Definitive Edition?
Oh,
what is that?
That has to be the newest one.
Yeah, 20% off a full price game. I mean, one of us has to pick up this damn game.
What's the release date on it?
Wait a minute.
So it's still $47.99.
July 20th, 2018. So it's a new game, and they're already discounting it 20%.
Is it, or is it a new DLC? Because if we scroll down a little bit, it's the Middle Earth Shadow of War, 66% off. That's what I saw earlier.
Wouldn't it say DLC with the purple?
Yeah, that's right underneath of it. And that's what
okay. So I guess you're buying the game and DLC.
Well, the game itself is 66% off, $16.99, totally worth it.
Good job catching that.
Yeah, I don't have my glasses on, so this is hard to see. Okay, what else we got?
Can't see without your glasses.
Civ 6, 67% off. Frank, tell us what you think.
It's really good. I really enjoy it. It has. Is that the DLC included for $15?
Is it 15? I thought it was almost 20.
Yeah, 1980.
19. Okay, I'm sorry.
Digital Deluxe, Civilization, and Scenario
He
Pack.
has his glasses.
What is it with the? Does it have Horizon Fall on there, broken out separately?
Horizon Fall?
Rise and Fall is the name of the
Rise and
expansion.
Yeah, there it is. Civ 6, Rise and Fall, $20.
So it's priced separately?
Yeah.
I mean, look, if you haven't bought this game already, you're not a huge Civ fan.
Whoa.
So, if you're not a huge Civ fan and you want to buy this game, wait until all the DLC is out for it. They will probably release another one. If they don't, at least wait until it'll cost less to buy the whole thing. To me, the game was dramatically improved when they released Rise and Fall for it. So I would say wait until, I would say $25 or less for both the base game and Rise and Fall.
All right. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much what we expected. I'm still satisfied with Civ 5 right now if I want to get my Civ fix, so I'll wait till I get it all together. All right. I know we have the Total War franchise. Holy shit. I played Rome Total War back in the day. It is a lot of fun. So you get your different units. They have different skills. Like, you know, you have your Triarii, which are high level elite Roman warriors. You have your light cavalry, your heavy cavalry. You position them on the field and you command them during combat. And as I recall, they put a lot of work into properly weighting abilities to reflect the different combatants, even if they didn't exist in the same place at the same time. But really good series. I've never heard of anyone going wrong ever with the Total War series. But you have Medieval 2 Total War, Napoleon Total War Shogun, Total War Shogun 2 with some cowboys, Rome Total War 2, Britannia Total War. It's pretty darn good. I mean, this series has been a staple of fun gameplay for forever.
That guy's mouth is way too big.
Okay, well, other than the mouth thing, you probably can't go wrong picking up something there.
You trying to fill that hole?
This
Gotta
is
pay the
not
troll toll.
Blackwake. All right.
To get in.
Mercifully, we've come to the end. Who wants to start us off this week?
Stick of truth.
You think it's Stick of Truth?
Stick of truth.
All right. I'm thinking Darkwood and then something from the Total War series. I think that's what Billy's going to get.
I feel like I've already voted because I did get the South Park, the two games, Stick of Truth and Fractured Butthole. And if I had to pick my second, it would be Darkwood.
Also Darkwood.
I would go Stick of Truth.
I mean, it's not a bad deal. You could get Darkwood and Stick of Truth for $15. Two games that are gonna do. If one of them fails and the other one meets your expectations, you got your $15 worth. But I'm pretty sure these games are both gonna find a place in your heart, like a Legolas arrow to an orc.
Wow, that was so funny.
Not an arrow to the knee.
All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us for another installment of Two Guns, No Ammo. Remember, if you subscribe, we become your bannerman in the next life.
True.
So go ahead and subscribe to us, and in this life, you'll make our hearts swell with joy in a healthy way.
And we get to steal part of your soul. But.
All right. Thanks again for joining us. Stick around for more fun content and good conversation. And don't forget, cock 'em, lock 'em, and rock 'em, baby.
Got a pea shoot over there.